What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the JJSports podcast. Joining you today, I'm your co-host, Joey.
I'm Josh.
And let's get started to your first segment. We always start with basketball. And before we get into professionalism of NBA, last week we talked about it a little bit. I'm just going to mention it very quickly, Josh. We talked about how it was the March Madness, the NCAA championship, and we talked about how it was UCLA faced off against the undefeated Gonzaga, crazy game, Jalen Suggs overtime, and then Baylor played, I think it was Houston in the other one, and they just wrecked them, So, and then I think we both made our predictions, and we both said that we thought that Gonzaga was definitely gonna win. That was not the case. But we were. I think everyone, but we were
really
very,
wrong.
we were very wrong. I don't know if you watched the game, but it was a terrible start. They were up like 20. It was like they scored 20 points, and Zaga only scored like 2. I don't know what happened. It was like weird. Like they didn't score see, it's annoying because they do this in halves. But if you saw it in quarters, you'd see like the first quarter, they only scored like 4 points. It was like what's going on here? But now this does prove my point in that players that would not go high up drafted usually are going to be looked at more. I thought that was going to happen for Gonzaga, like with their guys like Drew Timme or Jalen Suggs. But now I'm definitely going to say that for Baylor. Now they have the guys on there that people are going to start looking at.
These guys probably roll down the stretch for them in this one.
Yeah, it's big. This is the spotlight. The fact that they were able to steamroll. Like, are you shocked by this or no?
I don't know how to say how shocked I am. Obviously, it's obviously brutal that Gonzaga had their undefeated streak snapped. But with that being said, I mean, Baylor also only had 2 losses. So,
they're a number 1 seed also. So,
yeah, I mean,
not that surprising, but still.
I'm not going to say, obviously I'm a little shocked that Gonzaga, with the reputation they have and everything, their ability to keep pumping out these insane teams. And this might have been the best one they've had in a really long time, even though it didn't win, record wise. They were undefeated. They literally hadn't lost a game coming into this one. And I know Baylor, hadn't really lost many games. They lost 2 games, but for them to pull out a win this big, it's more that the fact they won by over 15 points than the fact that they just won against Gonzaga. That's what it is for me. I'm not 100% shocked about the win. I'm shocked about the deficit that it was.
Yeah, it's weird because I think everyone thought maybe they could still win because they're number 1 seed, and it's just going to be close. But it wasn't close. What the hell happened? It was so weird.
I mean, look, I heard the saying from a great coach that used to coach NHL games, Kent Hitchcock, former St. Louis Blues coach. But this is not a hockey thing. This is a thing for everything. And that's when you're getting deep into the season, when you're getting into the playoffs and you're trying to get deeper into the playoffs, even at the very start, okay? It's playoffs. You don't care who the other team has on their roster, and you don't care about their record. They're in the playoffs. They've got to be a good team. That's just the way it is. Everyone's good. So, it's right. The same thing here.
Right. And see the final point for this college part is just the whole reason I watched this game. Would you like it? How would you feel if the Knicks picked up one of these 3 guys from Baylor, because odds are they're going to be a playoff team. So they're not going to get they're not going to get Suggs.
Not going to get the top 5 pick.
They might get Timme. But they might, or they might get one of these 3 Baylor guys. How would you feel if they got one of these guys, who could prove that they can perform well?
Yeah, I think it'd definitely be an interesting pick, but also let's not forget, I know you've mentioned it, now I'm going to mention it for the first time, that they also have the Mavericks pick. I don't know where the Mavericks are so far this season. I know that they've been playing better than they started this season, obviously, but we're also just over halfway, just under 2/3 of the way, I think, through the season. And with that being said, maybe the Mavericks are going to end up in a spot to have an opportunity to grab one of these 3 guys from Baylor or someone from Gonzaga also, who's going to be looking.
Yeah, that's true. I think they also, I think they also, Mavericks are the 7th seed in the
West.
Yeah, in the West.
So that's not terrible either. I mean, the Knicks will probably end up with around 2 mid-round, mid-first round picks if I had to guess. So probably around maybe At the very best, I could see them picking right now, like assuming they stay where they are in like, the later, in the back half of the teams that are going to make the playoffs. They'll probably end up picking around like 10th overall if I had to guess, like, at the very best. Um, and maybe like, I don't know, anywhere from like 10 to 20, I'd say they'd probably
Yeah,
get a pick.
yeah.
Maybe like 21 or 22
But
also.
what you also have to know is that we got also the choice to swap first round picks with the Clippers in next year's draft due to when we traded Marcus Morris, if you remember that.
Right. I
So
do
that's
remember.
also a big deal. And I always wonder why would you want to swap first the pick? Because you could actually have a worse record than them, so you shouldn't swap is the reason for that, is what I realized. But yeah, if they have a worse record than us, that would be crazy.
You can swap picks, exactly.
Yeah, that would be.
Not you can, you should.
Yeah, you should. I'm saying they might not because, right now they're number 3 in the West. So they might probably won't, but maybe they will. Who knows? A lot of good things happen. But we're going to have 3. No, we're going to have 2. Whatever. The point
Two
is we're
first
going to have multiple
rounders
picks. We're
this
going to have
coming
yeah, we're going to have multiple picks coming in this draft. So we're going to have a lot of chances to build up on our season. Before I get into the Knicks, I got to just point out some individual stats because, we like to not exclude everyone in the NBA. So I'm just going to do here. Let's pick. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try to do this as quickly as possible. Here. Okay. So just quick reactions to this guy, Nikola Jokic, triple double against the Spurs, 26, 13, 14. And then again, 17, 10, 11.
Yeah, I watched that game yesterday against the Celtics, and I mean, like, he couldn't buy a shot in the fourth quarter. Like, almost no one from Denver was able to. But before that was when he built up most of his stats. He only had like 1 or 2 rebounds in the fourth quarter, and that's all he needed for the triple double. So, I mean, yeah, good performance from him. Would have been nicer to see him, like, be a little more consistent throughout the game, the entire time, because they were down like 5-6 points throughout the majority of the fourth quarter, and then they eventually lost it by double digits. So they could have used him a little more, but now excellent against the Spurs, excellent. He right now, like, he'd be my pick to win the MVP. He's leading it right now. I mean, he's having the best year of his career, and he's having the best season out of any player in the NBA. That's just the way it is this year.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing is that, like, he also, I look at this with other players like Damian Lillard, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, LeBron James, even, and even to go as far and say James Harden also, they've all missed some amount of time this season, and not by like 1 or 2 games. Like, Lillard was out a couple games with COVID protocol. LeBron James has been out, a while now, with the ankle injury. I think it is that sprained ankle. Yeah. But he should be coming back in another week or 2. I believe I heard last night, anywhere from like 2.5 to 3 weeks, I think. So, at the earliest we could expect to see him back in 2 weeks. But also Luka Doncic, I mean, like, it took him a while to really get going, and then like there was an injury he had to deal with on his ankle. So, and like, I know that was earlier in the season, obviously, since he's come back, but Jokic is really the only one who just hasn't been injured or been in COVID protocol this season. Yeah, I mean, like, you got to stay healthy in order to be able to compete for an award like this, and he's doing it. So credit to him.
Yeah, they always say best ability is availability, so.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean, yeah, like that. Like, you think this kind of game like will just solidify his chances of getting maybe the MVP this year?
I don't know if necessarily this type of game. Obviously, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, and even a block and a steal also, which we didn't mention. Obviously, nowhere near double digits, but still, it's nice to have.
I'm not saying this game. I'm saying another triple double, like back.
Another triple. I don't think another triple double is necessarily going to do it, but I do think that, for him to play consistent, he doesn't need, like, triple doubles aren't, in my opinion, what make players win MVP. I know Westbrook did it, but Westbrook made NBA history like when he did that. You know what I mean? Jokic is still only like 4 years into his career, I think, maybe 3.
Yeah, something like that. But that's the reason why I feel like he.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's like, theoretically, he's still an up and coming player. If you
He's technically a young player, which is weird because he doesn't feel like a young player.
I know, like, to be calling him the MVP and to be calling him a top 3 center in the NBA on a consistent basis, like, it's nuts to be thinking he's theoretically an up-and-coming player, but he's only 26 years old, and he was drafted in what, like 2017?
No, 14.
Oh, 2014. He didn't start playing until 2017. That's what I meant.
I think
So
so.
then,
Yeah. It's possible.
there you have it. That's crazy. I mean, like, whatever. We're drawing too much on this, but I think Jokic will eventually win the MVP this year. Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and you mentioned his name before, but I always like mentioning him because it's just amazing how he's on such a bad team and he's just doing this. Russell Westbrook, another triple double, back to back to back, just 3 in a row. Just holy crap! Like, damn, you know.
yeah. I mean, nothing more to be said.
Yeah, okay, fine. Now we're just gonna do the individuals, the points that caught my eye. So Trae Young, 42 against the Bulls. This is, mind you, after they got their solidifiers in Vucevic and I forgot the other guy's name on the Magic, but yeah, there's another guy.
No, not Fournier, and
No,
not
no,
Aaron
no, no,
Fournier.
no. Like it's like he's like the fourth guy. What was his name? It will come to me. But yeah, what do you think about this?
Trae Young is one of the great young players in the game, no pun intended. He just is. I mean, he's 22 years old, and last year, if I have this correct, he was a starter on the NBA All-Star team.
I don't think he was a starter, but
I don't know if it was. No, I know he was a starter. I just don't remember if it was last year before the season got put on hold. Like they had the All-Star game last year. I don't know if it was
yeah.
last year
I
or
think
the
it
year
was him and
before.
Luka. I think it was him and Luka. Yeah, I think so.
I know he was. I just don't remember if it was last year or the year before. So with that being said, either way, he's a lights out player. He's he's everything you want in a point guard. Obviously, he didn't shoot too well from 3-point range, but he's not gentle. No steals and blocks, but I mean, he's only 6'1". That's not incredibly like crazy, especially for a basketball player. That's like on the shorter side. If I have that, like it's crazy to think that. So, I mean, like, he's fast. Brings a lot of energy to the team. He's a acrobatic shooter. He's almost automatic from the free throw line, also. So, yeah, great showing for him. And I mean, the fact that like his career points is up to 24.1 in 2 seasons is kind of crazy. So yeah, and this season it's a little bit higher even. So
Yeah.
good to see the young players again. No pun intended. Just
Uh,
I mean, I said it the first time.
yeah. And then another one, Steph Curry, 41 points against the Milwaukee Bucks. Thoughts on that?
I don't really have anything to say on this. I mean, like we all know Steph Curry, is very possibly going down as the greatest shooter of all time. I personally think he is already.
Yeah. Yeah, to me it's either him or like Ray Allen, But
yeah.
Sure.
But no, I think Stephen Curry is going down as the greatest shooter of all time. And at the same time, like he's, if not shooting, he's like, if he's not just purely shooting, he's an acrobat when it comes to finishing off layups and like, the passes and everything that he does because, well, yeah, he's looked at as a 3-point shooter. I mean, he's taken at least 10 3-point attempts in each of his last 3 games. While the percentage hasn't 100% been, lights out. I mean, actually, no, 50% or just under 50% is actually pretty good from 3-point range to my understanding. I don't know if you'd be able to correct me on that or if you can enlighten me if I'm completely wrong. But also, like, people don't realize, like, I know not too many assists, but I mean, he's averaging 6 assists a season. So he's still, I know nothing to do with the points that we're talking about, just in general. Like, he'll beat you in many ways. That's the bottom line.
Yep, definitely true. And then you talked about young players. So speaking of young players, this is one of my favorite young players in the league. Probably my favorite young player in the league, not on the Knicks. My favorite is Donovan Mitchell. And this dude is on a huge tear. 41 points, 37 points, 42 points. He's just scoring. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Like, what could you say? He's just
phenomenal. He's a young player, and it's crazy to think again that he's up and coming, similar to like Nikola Jokic, as we mentioned before. But let it be known at the same time that even though he's pretty early into his career, he's only been playing since 2017. It's crazy to think, though, that like because of how young he is, he's one of the guys leading this Jazz team, which is the top seed in the NBA, not just the Western Conference, the NBA right now. So, yeah, I mean, his 3-point shooting could have been a little bit better over the last 3 games, but he's still putting up 42, 37, 41 points. So it's really not that crazy to think that it's not something to point out that, it's like if he doesn't hit those shots, he doesn't produce at all,
Right.
I also just want to point out how in every one of these 3 games specifically, he's hit at least the same amount of points that he's played minutes. If not, he's gone over in points than he has minutes, which is, as we like to talk about occasionally with guys like Randall and Barrett on the Knicks specifically, that it's pretty impressive that they're able to do that. Same thing goes for Donovan Mitchell here, and he's on the best team in the NBA record-wise this year. So,
yeah, that's for sure. I mean, this guy's got a very bright future in the NBA. He's gonna have a good career. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna talk about this guy. We'll talk about him. We know who he is. We'll talk about what he did last night later. But just the game before, after being traded the deadline last week against the Cavs, 44 points for Gary Trent Jr. Obviously, Gary Trent Jr. was traded for
Norman Powell.
Norman Powell, Portland to Toronto. And in one of his first games as a Raptor, 44 points. And granted, it was against the Cavs, but still 44 points for a guy that like most people never really knew about. And he was like, he did it with a new team, like a team he just joined. So like, that's pretty cool. I thought I should mention that,
Yeah, no, excellent to see. Lights out from the field, lights out from 3-point range. Didn't really try to focus too much on assists or rebounds. Yeah, we know he could fly. That's just that's the reality of it. At the same time, though, also great way to bounce back from having only 6 points the night before in 39 minutes and going nearly ice cold. Well, not nearly. It was pretty much ice cold from the field. At least it wasn't a goose egg, but great way to bounce back. And we'll get into
we'll get into that in a moment. And the last individual stat I want to talk about, I hate Boston, but I will give this guy props. 53 points against the Timberwolves, I know, but still 53 points for Jayson Tatum. I did not expect this. Josh, did you? Because I did not. 53.
No, I did not. Jayson Tatum is he's having a very strong season. Obviously, we know he's in the 3-point contest for shooting purposes, and he was in the All-Star game. But this is a guy he is a power forward, also capable of playing small forward position, but he puts the power in the position power forward. He just does. You ever see this guy throw down like crazy? And I know that, also like that's the thing. He's like Curry, but just like not Steph Curry at the same time. He's a scorer. He's going to find ways to get to the hoop. He'll throw it down with force. And if not, he's got the 3-ball, which I think is a very underrated asset of his in his back pocket that not many teams tend to think he's going to go with first, just because of how effective he can be when getting into the paint. But at the same time, you got to find a way to shut this guy down. And granted, I know it was the Timberwolves. 53 points is still a lot to give up to one player, no matter who it is.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, 2 more news, and then we're going to the Knicks. Okay, so I just want your thoughts. You don't have to spend too much time, just thoughts. We know Milwaukee had a big overhaul in the offseason. They traded away Bledsoe and Hill, and they got back Drew Holiday, someone to make like a little big 3 with Middleton and Giannis. And now he's staying, apparently. He's signed a 4-year extension worth up to $160 million. Thoughts on this, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know about giving him a mass contract, but I also haven't followed Drew Holiday that much. Obviously, he's got to be a great player if he's getting offered this type of money and he's playing with guys. He's helping team, which was off. Obviously early in the season, they got blown out by the Knicks. They really couldn't keep up with the Cavs, and they had trouble putting away the Timberwolves, like even after they, had become a bit better, and the Timberwolves had, officially like taken their position as the worst team in the NBA record-wise. Now, though, they're back at it. Holiday's been a big part of that, I know. I don't know the specific stats, but I do know that he has been heavily involved. I don't know if giving him the mass contract, or it seems like it's mass contract numbers at least, it is the way to go here. But I mean, if they feel that he's deserving of it and that they're ready to offer that, who knows? The Bucks, I know that, like until proven, I'm like not going to predict them to win an NBA championship because they've been the favorites to do it like the last 3 years and just haven't. Um, like they haven't even reached it. Forget about not even forget about losing it. Like they haven't even made it there. But who knows? Maybe this will be the year, even though you and I are feeling optimistic about certain teams to make it in also.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I thought for sure they were going to make it when they played the Raptors, because like the Raptors, everyone knew like were the biggest choke artists like in the last 5 years. And then all of a sudden Kawhi just went God mode, and I think they swept them actually, which was, I think.
They were they reverse swept. They were
It was
down
a
to
reverse sweep. Yeah, that's right. It was a reverse sweep. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you got reverse swept. That sucks. You had a 2-0 lead and just, damn, I remember that. It was crazy. Because like they had it and they lost it. Okay, and then the last thing before we talk Knicks, I want your honest thoughts on this. So I'm not a big fan of 10-day contracts because usually a bunch of scrubs get it. But this is a name we've all heard of, so I got to mention it. Clippers signed a 10-day contract to Boogie. Thoughts on this, Josh?
Yeah, I didn't know about this. I've got no idea what to think. Obviously, with Ibaka out, it's not a terrible idea to do this. I mean, Zubac has been pretty solid for the Clippers as a second center, coming off the bench. I don't know if he's the answer to starting. I don't think that Cousins is necessarily, though, either. Even though, he's only 30, he still has obviously a lot of time that he's going to play in the NBA still. He's a guy who's been battling a lot of injuries over his career. He's torn his ACL, he's torn his Achilles, and even though he has the experience being on some of the great teams, like we know he was on the Warriors before he was on the Rockets. The Clippers are a great team now, but I just don't know if it's I don't know what to make of this. I don't know, because he's been on those teams. He has that's when he's missed time with injury. So he has experience getting there, but it's a very small sample size. I'm not obviously the Clippers aren't in a position where they're in the playoffs right now. Like they're not physically in the playoffs right now, but they will be a top seed in the NBA, specifically in the Western Conference. And hopefully they'll get Ibaka by then. I don't know if they're going to keep Cousins, but I guess for the time being, it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst signing. I'm not as much of a believer as a lot of other guys might be in this.
I mean, so just one question: do you think after the 10 days they'll sign him or no?
Depends if Ibaka comes back. I think that's the big question mark, because we know what Ibaka can do. He's a proven center. He doesn't get injured. He has championship experience on multiple teams. And he's been a big part. It's not.
If you think about it, Cousins technically also has experience. He was on the Warriors.
That's what I said. But I'm saying Ibaka was actually a part of it. Like he was never injured for it.
Oh, okay, that's true. Right, because Raptors, right.
Yeah, and Thunder.
And the Thunder, right. Wow, that was a while ago. But yeah, that's true. That's very true. Man, it's crazy how many people the Thunder had on their team, man. They had 3 MVPs, and now they have 30 first-rounders. So,
yeah,
they better not screw it up. Okay, now we're going to talk some Knicks. So, I don't think you want to talk about the 2 games before because they did not end well for us.
Yeah, they were brutal.
But I will point out in one of those games, Julius Randle did have a triple-double. So props to him. Both the games were close. Refs kind of screwed us a little bit, but then again, we had leads. We blew them. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this thriller against the Grizzlies in which Julius Randle hit in OT, completed a triple-double. All right, thoughts about that, And we know they're not a good team, but still, thriller.
I mean, the Grizzlies, they're over 500. They're 26-24. I don't know how strong their schedule has been, but like the record doesn't tell that they're exactly a bad team. Like, I mean, the record tells, if anything, that the Knicks are a bad team because they're not over 500.
That's true. That's true.
That's just the way it is. That's how I like. That's just how I'm gonna bring this part up. Grizzlies fight hard. They've got some pretty nice talents. You got John Morant, you've got Kyle Anderson, you've got Jonas Valanciunas, and even a guy like Dylan Brooks and Grayson Allen, who have both played big minutes this season. So yeah, like the Grizzlies are not a walk in the park, but they're not exactly the most threatening team either. Obviously, it didn't come easy for the Knicks. Very exciting game. I didn't get to watch it. I did get to watch the highlights though. And I mean, Julius Randle is just, I know that the points don't really say much, but obviously 10 rebounds, 11 assists, huge. Reggie Bullock, great defensively. This was way more of a defensive oriented game. He also played a lot less than he's normally used to. Nerlens Noel defensively, again, amazing, especially with the boards. RJ Barrett dropped 20. Elfrid Payton just, doing his thing, penetrating. He's not big. He can distribute the ball, but he's not big on distributing the ball for assists. He's big on, opening the play up. And as he's very good at getting into the paint. Alec Burks has been on another level in the second half of this season. Emmanuel Quickley continues to thrive as a rookie. And even Taj Gibson, still at his age, we've talked about it all year long, grabbing rebounds and playing hard, gritty basketball. Derrick Rose as well. Also, it's, he's only a couple games back in since returning from COVID-19 protocol. I know it seems like it's a while ago, but the Knicks haven't played a ton of games with him back. And this was, if I'm correct, his largest point total of the season. So great to see that, 19 points, excellent performance from him. And, as we mentioned, and that's also in 15, not 15. That's also, sorry, I was looking at Obi Toppin's numbers. Even Toppin got in, put up 8 points, an assist, 6 rebounds. I'm not expecting him to do like massive things going forward for the Knicks. He's slowly climbing that ladder and trying to get better as a rookie. I mean, like we know he's got unlimited potential with his athleticism. It's just, we're making the right basketball decisions, I guess, is really the challenge for him right now. It doesn't help that the Knicks are playing pretty decent basketball this season. And they've got, the role players who are, stepping up and trying to fill those spots like Randall and Bullock and Barrett, Noel, now that he stepped in for Mitchell Robinson again. And even guys coming off the bench like Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickley, who's a rookie, but has really blossomed into a phenomenal, electrifying player. And even Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson coming back with the Knicks. So, just slowly starting to see Toppin grow. But, I mean, he hasn't really done much other than, a couple points here, a couple points there. He's not big on the assists, and we haven't seen him be out there long enough to grab rebounds. So, maybe they found strength of his.
Yeah, but to be fair, he played like the least of anybody.
And he still grabbed 6 rebounds. That's that shows it right there.
Yeah, but what do you think? What are your thoughts on our 3 bench guys scoring more than most of our starters? Like, is that embarrassing? Is that confident? Is that good?
No, I don't think it's embarrassing at all. I mean, we all know Noel's not a big scorer, even though so that eliminates one. Reggie Bullock, we know, is he's a shooter, right? So I don't know what his numbers were like 100%, but I mean, to grab 8 points, it's not terrible with the way he plays defense. He's not really an aggressive taker when it comes to driving into the paint and everything. He's out there to be an effective 3-point shooter. He's improved greatly, by the way. He had 33% last year, up to 40% this year. That was a stat that was shown before. And also, I mean, Barrett stepped it up a couple percent. From 32 to 35, Randall up from 27 to 41. I mean, that's ridiculous. And guys like that's just the 3-point specifically. So Bullock and Randall, obviously, you know what you're getting with them, and even Barrett, who's starting to get back into it. Noel's not a shooter; he's an excellent defensive player. I don't expect him to score more than like 10 points a game. As for Elfrid Payton, he's also not a huge scorer. He's a very inconsistent scorer, but he's not so inconsistent that he'll put up 2 points or put up 30. You know what I mean? He'll put up maybe anywhere from 10 to 15. And if not, he'll put up 20 to 25. You know what I mean? And if he's always going to play great defense, he's a defensive oriented point guard. So I mean, like the fact that Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickly, and Derrick Rose are all putting up 19, 20 points, it's not crazy. If anything, I'd like it more if you have your bench guys who can come off and do that, because if the first unit doesn't do that, then they can help get it jump started. That's how I see it. Think of it as depth scoring.
I mean, yeah, like one of the reasons I feel like the Raptors, obviously it was Kawhi, but it helped a lot that he had probably one of the best benches in the league, like Norman Powell, Fred VanVleet, like it was like it just seemed very helpful to have guys like that on your bench, spark plugs that could just shoot off the bench and production, like that's what you need. Yeah, and that was a pretty good game, thriller and OT. And then we played the Raptors, man. And these are not the same Raptors, I grant you, but it's still a team that has like some class, like this is a team that was in the playoffs last 5-6 years. We know they're the chokers, but at least they go to the playoffs, they're usually a top seed. Like, and after what Gary Trent Jr. did the game before, we thought, we were gonna have some problems, but we actually limited him to 23 points, or he limited himself. I don't know if you watched this game a lot. I know we were talking about it, but I watched it. There were some interesting calls. Pascal Siakam in the beginning of the game did a double dribble, no call. Although it was funny because at the end he did it again and they actually did call it on him. So how do you like that, Siakam? I love this game. I don't know if you watched the highlights. Just phenomenal game. Amazing. The play of the game was Randall about looking like he was going to go, and then he no-look passes to RJ corner 3 automatic, game over. Like, just some beautiful playing by this team. And ever since what's his name from the Timberwolves? What's his name? The pick. What's his name?
Edwards.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. Ever since he tweeted that RJ was like overrated, RJ's been on a tear, So take that, Edwards. Yeah, thoughts on this game, Josh? Just like, what do you think?
I mean, I know the Raptors are 12 games under 500, but there's still some pieces there. As you mentioned, Siakam, Kyle Lowry back from injury. They just traded for Gary Trent Jr., who's still, trying to put it together as a Raptor, but give him time. It's a new system. He's only 22 years old on top of that. Adjusting to a completely new system. I think he's going to be fine, but we know what he could do still. And given they were also without what's that guy's like Anunoby, however his last name is pronounced. They were also without
OG Anunoby.
OG Anunoby. They were without him last night. And even the guys who played last night, there were a handful of them that did well. Siakam put up 16, Chris Boucher put up 17, Kyle Lowry put up 19, Gary Trent Jr. put up 23. Other than that, there really just wasn't a ton of scoring around. But I do want to give credit also to Boucher, who put up 14 rebounds. I mean, that's a lot. Even we talk about Jokic, we talk about Joel Embiid, and we talk about Rudy Gobert, but those guys aren't putting up 14 rebounds on a consistent basis against the crappiest teams. Not to say the Knicks are that's just the way. They're not up there as a contender necessarily yet. They're climbing the ladder, but they're just not there. So, he took advantage for the Raptors tonight, but the Knicks just overall better performance. Randall 26, Bullock only put up 10, but we mentioned in the previous game, defensive first player who's
he
just
had a lot of steals in this game.
Yeah.
And Noel, it doesn't say here, he had like 4 blocks or something.
Yeah, 13 rebounds also for Noel. Barrett, 19 points. Peyton, he only had 12 points, no rebounds, no assists last game. Talk about the fact he only puts up 11 points, but he does get on the board in the assist and rebounding column. As for Alec Burks, not a very strong game. That might be, the biggest shocker for me. And also a guy like Emmanuel Quickly. Gibson, not superstar like, but he never is, and it just, I guess, he didn't get his opportunities. As for Derrick Rose, 11 points doesn't seem like a lot, but his average has only been about 12 to 13, I think just over 12 a game. So it's not, it's right around his average. It's nothing really to worry about. And we know that the Knicks overall, I know I singled out specific players with guys like Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, Taj Gibson, Derrick Rose, and even Obi Toppin. But while we might not be seeing them score, the Knicks overall, as I talk about those guys defensively, the whole team is playing defensively. We know that Tom Thibodeau has taught this team to defend. They're one of the top defensive teams in the league. That's just the way it is. That's stat speaking. That's not me being a biased Knicks fan and thinking, oh, like no team could score against. No, statistically speaking, this is a top team in the NBA defensively. The only thing is they're just not huge scorers. So, get some of those guys. And when those guys are on, like Randall and Barrett and Bullock and Peyton, when he's able to put up big numbers, and Alec Burks and quickly off the bench, and Derrick Rose also, who's a great distributor of the ball, you're gonna see them put up points. That's just the way it is. Because there have been times where the Knicks have put up tons of points, and it just comes and goes. But they've been a lot more consistent this season. I know it's inconsistent the way they've been winning and losing. They can't find a way to, statistically just keep it above 500 and just stay that way, where they're hovering under and over 500, the entire throughout the entire season, really. But I mean, if this is all they have to do to really like stay in one of those playoff spots, I'm okay with it, because they weren't supposed to be even in the top 10 in the Eastern Conference this year. And right now, they're not only top 10, but they're knocking on the doors of top 5 still, theoretically. They're only like 3 games back of Charlotte, I think, and they're in the 5th seed. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, just quickly, predictions for tonight's game against the Lakers. And just a reminder, I'm going to check, but I'm pretty sure all 3 guys, Drummond, I think all of them are not playing, Drummond, Davis, and James. So thoughts on that?
It's got to be, it's at 7:30. It's got to be at the Garden, if that's where it is. And if all 3 of those guys are out, I can't not pick the Knicks here. I mean, they're on a 2-game win streak, and even the 2 games they lost before were so close, and they were 2 like good teams. I know the Celtics numerically this season, record-wise, aren't a great team, but we know the pieces they have. They've got Tatum, Jaylen Brown's having a great year. They've got Williams, Marcus Smart. They're having they have a good team. That's the bottom line. And they only lost by 2 there. It was in Boston too. I know they blew the lead, but still, you gotta give them credit for not completely getting blown out of the water with the final score. As for the Nets are a top 3 team in the NBA right now. So, like, to think they lost by 2 and the Knicks compete with them, it's not like they just, it's not like they get blown out in the first 3 quarters and the Nets put in their scrubs and that's when the Knicks decide to start trying to make a comeback. No, like, it was a back and forth game the whole time. The Knicks still had a chance to win that game. I don't know if you want to go up any farther, because I don't remember who they played before the Nets. Yeah, I mean, that's when they blew out the Pistons, and yeah, the rest of that we won't talk about. But I think, they've won 3 out of their last 5, and they've been able to compete against, some of the better teams. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if those 3 guys you say are out for LA, and Drummond, Davis, and LeBron, I think the Knicks can win this one. I really think they can.
I think they're out. This is the only reason I think we're going to win, because they're out. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
This is probably going to be the best team when they're all back. But yeah. Let's go next. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yep. Okay. So with baseball, I'm gonna do something. I was gonna talk about stuff from last week. I'm just gonna mention quickly. I don't know if you saw it, because I don't want to go through all. It's gonna take too long. But just phenomenal performances by pitchers, not pitchers that you usually hear about. So I'm not gonna show them all, but I'm just gonna say it quickly. John Means, Jose Barrios, and Zach Wheeler. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but they all had pretty, I think it was 7 shutout innings. I think all 3 of them had.
Yeah. No, I heard John Means, I just want to point out, is one of those pitchers who's being suspected for potentially using foreign substances. I might be wrong about that. It might be a load of BS that was just put up by a bunch of reporters on Twitter who are trying to be first, as Trevor Bauer, who is the main guy being investigated. There's no denial in that from him. But something he always says, like, the reporters, by the way, like when he put out the story, like saying he was going to the Mets, that was never true. It was never his intention. Like, like when he was thinking about, like, after he had heard like the specs of, like, the value of his contract and everything. He said, yeah, those reporters who say they just want to be first, and if they're right, it makes them look like, yeah, they were the fastest one and they're the best reporter. It's kind of the same thing here for people to be very quick to accuse John Means of being a user of the foreign substances. So, all that aside, though, excellent performance. Zach Wheeler had a very good season with the Phillies last year. He's off to a great start again. And Jose Berrios, I mean, we know that he can, we know the potential he has. It's just he really hasn't been able to put it together. I think bringing in the veterans around that they did last year, and Kenta Maeda and Rich Hill really did help, though. I think that, them being around, the Twins will still continue to grow because they're still a very young team. And they've got still the youngest manager in all of baseball, and he's a good manager in Rocco Baldelli. And Berrios is a young pitcher who is starting to slowly put it together. I'm not expecting him to break out and be a Cy Young caliber this year, but we know he has that type of potential. It's going to take him, another season or two, I think, before he can really be considered there. But if he hits that potential earlier, I'm not going to be complaining. Joey, I don't know if you intended to mention it, but also a performance that happened over the weekend as well. You talk about spectacular pitching performances.
Where you're talking about somewhere in the California.
Yeah, just get
I'm
to
not
it.
getting. I was going to get there, but I just want to say one more thing before. I also wanted your thoughts on because this was supposed to be for last week, but Miggy hitting a homer in the snow. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
it.
that was funny.
That was really cool. It's like, it's over. Yeah. It was.
He didn't think he had it.
Yeah,
No,
it's like, sorry. Yeah.
No, nothing much.
I was gonna say he's not much closer to breaking. What was it, 500 or was it 300? 300 with the Tigers' 500 career. I think something like that. Like I don't remember.
I'm not 100%.
He's close to a milestone, is my point. But yeah, it was just funny. Like he hit one in the snow. I did not think there was gonna be snow on opening day. I mean, I've seen it before, but it's just weird, like really weird.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I'm not gonna play it, but like the whole weird Dodgers thing where Cody Bellinger hit a home run, but
and Justin Turner didn't know it. He thought it was. Yeah,
I think that's a dumb rule, honestly, but it makes sense, I guess.
I don't think it's a dumb rule. I don't think it's a dumb rule. I really don't. I don't want to get into an argument.
It's not a dumb rule. That it's at least I gotta say that Justin Turner's dumb. Then at least
okay, and say that it's not a dumb rule. He flat out didn't pay attention. Like he thought it too.
He's
dumb. I think that his thought process wasn't wrong, but at the same time, like he could have taken another second to realize, because even Reinald Tapia is not going to throw him out from all the way at the wall if he's around second. You know what I mean?
He should just stop.
If anything, he should have been jogging at first when Bellinger hit that.
No, but he should have just stopped and just seen what happened.
I'm saying, like, even if he was jogging, though, like he was sprinting right out. It's the good baseball mentality. You run with everything you have on contact. But with that being said, also, he should have stopped.
If he sees him throwing it, he's gonna run to second, and then he'll be safe.
Yeah.
But
he didn't catch the ball. He thought. Yeah.
And then
but here's the deal. Like, he thought the ball was caught. That's the thing. He didn't.
He should have just stopped. He should have just stopped. He should have stopped or been.
Okay, well, look, it's too late. It doesn't matter. Like he knows for next time. Trust me, I don't think he'll screw that up again. I don't think it'll happen again.
That's such a dumb move. Like,
it's not, okay, whatever. So whatever. It doesn't matter. It happened to the Dodgers. Like, no one cares. They'll be fine. They'll win 100+ games. They'll probably win the World Series. Like, that's all. It doesn't matter.
It could be, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so. Okay, before we get into, obviously, I know what you want to talk about. I have to show you this, okay? Because, and I know you actually like this team, but I hate this team, and I think you're definitely not going to like this. So let me just show you this. I feel like you have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me just show you this. Okay. So, okay. So, I want to know if I should show you this picture or whatever. Let me just show you this picture.
Just show a damn picture already.
No, I want to know if it's better with the players or not, but I'm just gonna show you.
I don't care. Just show the picture.
Okay, so the Red Sox decided we're gonna have a new jersey alternate or whatever. I don't know if it's their whatever. So this is their new jersey. I want your absolute honest thoughts, okay? Look at this disgusting.
Yeah, okay, that's nasty.
That is disgusting.
If it was like red, I would understand.
The Red Sox
That's
are
not
now
even
the
their
Yellow Sox.
color. Like, oh my gosh, that is nasty.
That is so gross. You should have seen the picture with the players. It was
I don't want to see the picture. It's
dude,
that
it
gross.
was
Get
disgusting.
it, just no. Get it
I
out of my.
have not been
I'm
this mad about
covering
it.
my screen and my camera so I don't have to like just
I
yeah.
I have
Get
not been this mad about a jersey change since the Rams. Oh my god. And that's more their logo than their jerseys, but still, like, oh my
yeah.
god, this is disgusting. Ugh. Oh my god. Ugh. Okay. All right. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I usually do not care about this type of event because at the end of the day, you could actually lose when you do this because you could have walks, you could hit beams,
Right.
With a perfect one, that's not going to happen. That's
All
impossible.
right, you just gave it away, so just get to the point.
Okay, so over the weekend, something amazing happened. Okay, so a few months ago,
Bro, you don't have to pull it up because that takes more time away. Just say the damn event. Otherwise, I could say it.
Okay, fine. San Diego Padres newly acquired pitcher Joe Musgrove threw a no-hitter. And I usually don't talk about this. There was 2 last year, one with the White Sox, one with the Cubs. But I didn't care about them because of the reason I said. And I know they won those, but I just don't care, because you're not perfect in those games. But the 3 reasons I love this, okay? Number 1, the catcher was Victor Carantini. Who's Victor Carantini, you say? He was the catcher for Alec Mills, the guy who threw the last no-hitter in baseball on the Cubs last year. So I thought that was pretty cool. Number 2, Joe Musgrove is from San Diego. He grew up a Padres fan. So he got to do one in San Diego where he was a fan of. And number 3, unlike those other teams, they've done it before. This is the first no-hitter in Padres history, Josh. Holy shit. He threw a guy, the hometown guy. They've been there for like 30 years at least, and they never hit a freaking no-hitter. Never. Holy shit. Hometown boy hits a no-hitter for the first time in his team's history. The team he grew up rooting for, Josh. Holy crap. Tell me about this. Oh my god.
Yeah. There's really nothing much to say. You hit the nail right on the head, and you hit every single point. Joe Musgrove is, he's been on some very sketchy teams, as you know.
It's not the word I would use.
First he was with the Astros during 2017. And I know we talk about how the pitchers weren't really involved, but still, whatever. And I'm not saying he's accused of anything or that he should be penalized in any way, but whatever. And then he was on the Pirates, and they were just absolute dog shit. So, that's I mean, like, it must be nice for him to break away from those 2 teams. On this, as we talk about championship caliber Padres team, as a San Diego native, as a Padres fan growing up, throwing it for the first time in his career and the first no-hitter in Padres history. Like, there's really not much else to say about it. Props to him.
I mean, but it's crazy because I usually don't care about these things, but because of all these things that happen, this is going to be a legendary no-hitter. The catcher was in
for their franchise, it is, but not necessarily in like MLB. Like, it's obviously for MLB, like it's a milestone. Like, no-hitters are so rare that I know that maybe you could expect one to happen every year, at least from like some random guy. That's the thing. It's super unpredictable. Because like, if you look at the no-hitters that have been thrown over the years, like, how many of them are by pitchers that you wouldn't have predicted to throw a no-hitter? Because I'm sure no one would have predicted Mills to throw a no-hitter last year for the Cubs. I don't think, no offense to Joe Musgrove, I don't think anyone predicted he was going to throw a no-hitter this year.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because there was a guy on Twitter that predicted it. But then it turned out that he actually does this every time someone pitches for the Padres. He says, I predict that this guy will throw a no-hitter. But someone did predict it, although it wasn't like a luck thing. He just
okay, whatever.
Still,
like, bottom line is Joe Musgrove is not one of the top pitchers in the game that you would have expected to throw no-hitter. He's not on the level of Scherzer or Kershaw or DeGrom or Cole or even Verlander when Verlander plays and he's healthy. He's not on that level. That's just the reality of it.
Right.
No one would have expected.
That's why
I'm sure as hell that no one would have expected Dallas Braden to throw a perfect game for the Oakland Athletics. I'm sure no one would have expected to call Philip Humber pitching a perfect game when he was with the White Sox when they were a trash team And no one would have expected, I don't remember the guy's name who did it, but against the Mets in 2015, some random guy on the Giants did it to them.
No, but that's what
So
I'm saying. Like, I don't care because usually it's like a know-nothing guy, like a guy you could know, but they're not like the top tier guys. But I care about this one because of the significance. The catcher
yes,
was the
okay,
last
yeah,
one.
I
This
get
dude
that.
grew up a fan, and he threw the first one that they've ever had.
Okay, it's a big thing for Padres. It's not a huge thing for the MLB. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all I'm
You
saying,
really
Josh,
think
is that
like a Yankees fan is gonna come? I'm just saying, like, because whatever, like a Yankees fan is gonna come over and be like, "Oh my gosh, Joe Musgrove threw a no hitter." Like the MLB is changing. Like this is like the most historic thing the MLB has ever seen. You know what I mean? It's the Padres thing. That's what I'm saying.
listen, I'm not obviously you pick your teams, but you got to also appreciate certain things because of the way they are, in the sense that like
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm not
here's
losing my mind on it
I
like
didn't
you.
care. I didn't care about the Cubs or White Sox last year because they've already done it before. But I care about this one because this is not just their first one. Obviously, just won
Yeah,
it, but it's
Joey,
the idea.
Joey, I'm
But
gonna give it to you straight. I could appreciate this, but I just don't care about it as a Mets fan. That's the thing. As
I
a baseball fan, yes, I appreciate it. I don't follow the Padres. I don't care much about the Padres as a team, as an organization, and their history. But they're a fun team to watch now. That's what I think about
But
them.
it's not just because of the Padres. It's just because where you think about the grand scheme of things of like rotations in the MLB, and everyone's wondering, are the Padres?
Okay, whatever. We're spending too much time on this. I don't want to get into it. Yeah, Joe Musgrove, historic no hitter for the Padres. Like great for him, and hopefully many more.
I'm
Like,
just a big fan of Homer stuff. I mean, like when Potato, New York guy, scored for the Rangers, I was like,
okay, look,
wow.
we're getting way off topic, and like it's getting too much.
All right, Josh can't handle the pressure.
I
It's okay.
know. I know that there was
All right,
I know
okay,
there's an
fine.
incident that you're willing to call me out on in baseball, Joey. If you weren't gonna do that,
Man,
and I'll do it
we all know
myself.
that rule is BS. I don't care. Everyone,
Yeah.
everyone knows
Let
that's
me
a
just
cheap.
ask you this. Let me just ask you this before I know that you want to move on to football. Okay. And for those who don't know, the hit by pitch incident with Michael Conforto, I'm a believer that that should not have been a hit by pitch and he should have been called out. Whether they would have lost the game, I don't know, because Pete Alonso is one of the only Mets who actually has been able to hit the ball this year, and maybe he would have ended it. I don't think it would have necessarily been a lock. Definitely better chance than Michael Conforto, though, the way Conforto started. As for what was happening, bases were loaded. Conforto was hit by a pitch that he didn't make an effort to get out of the way. People even say that he intentionally stuck his elbow out. I can't tell if he actually stuck his elbow out, but I can tell he didn't make an effort to get out of the way, which is already enough to prevent him from going to first base and actually being called as a hit by pitch. As for some other people, though, everyone seems to be blaming Conforto for the fact that the umpires made the wrong call because the umpires went to replay review, looked at it, and still called the game. They called Conforto they called it as a hit by pitch, even though they saw, and even the umpire, I think, what's his name, like Ron Culpa, something like that. Culpa, I don't know.
I don't care, man. Like we all know
Whatever, but either way, admitted after the game that he made the wrong call after getting more time to look at it. I honestly think they were just trying to get out of there because, like, whatever, and
I
that's
think it happens
very
too
cheap
much.
baseball.
I
But
think
the
it
one,
happens too much in sports
yeah,
where someone just like makes a bad call on purpose to get
because they're trying to
yeah.
get the time. Yeah, the
I'm just
one
like
thing I can't get behind though, like, no, keep going, Joey. I'm sorry. Like,
I just like baseball doesn't have a fucking clock, you moron.
yeah,
There's no
yeah,
it's not time for a reason. You're
yeah,
supposed to let it play out. It's not like any other sport. Like, what's wrong with you? You
yeah.
clown. Okay, now go.
Okay, that was well said. First of all, maybe a little too aggressive, but good idea.
I don't
Second of all,
care if it's aggressive. Okay, I'm
okay, whatever. Second thing being though that like there are two things I can't get behind that are both around the same topic, but one is a little more aggressive than the other. I'll start with the one that's not as aggressive, and that's the fact that people are going ham on Conforto for the fact that the game ended the way it ended. If you're gonna bash anyone, you don't bash Conforto. You bash the umpire because Conforto admitted after the game also, yeah, like I can't believe like they called it, but okay, like we're happy to get the win. A win is a win any way you slice it. That's just the way it is. He's admitting it, and like people continue to call him out. And I just can't get behind the fact that he had no control over the call the umpires made. That was the first thing that wasn't as aggressive.
people think
Here's where it gets really aggressive though.
okay.
Some moron on Twitter went as far to say that this was even dirtier of Conforto than what Chase Utley did to Ruben Tejada in the 2015 playoffs after he broke Tejada's leg. It was not close. The players knew it wasn't close. Utley BS'd his way out of it. He admitted it secretly behind, like in an interview, he BS'd his way out of it. When asked about it, specifically it was revealed that yes, okay, like he had no intention to break his leg, but like he was not right to slide. I don't know if you remember the play, Joey, but
everyone knows Chase Utley, okay?
yeah, everyone knows Chase Utley. He's not exactly a clean player. So with that being said, and at the same time, the broadcasters from both sides, you had TBS doing the game, you had SNY doing the game, and you had oh my gosh, iconic Vince Scully for the Dodgers calling the game. And he was in shock that it happened. So when the opposing team's broadcaster says that, there's something really messed up about it.
I mean, yeah,
and some idiot went as far to say that this hit by pitch incident was even dirtier play by Conforto than the Chase Utley incident. I'm sorry, but first thing, like, again, you're blaming this on Conforto, which has nothing to do with him. I know he was the player. He had no say in what the umpires decided to call. He didn't influence them. They went to replay review. They screwed it up on their own. This is not a player issue anymore. This is an umpire issue. The second thing to say about this is this guy just clearly doesn't understand baseball. This guy stuck his arm out at the very best scenario if you're going to bash him forward to get hit by a pitch, which basically won the game. I understand. This other guy physically injured someone and ended his career. There's a huge difference. Like Tejada played one more after that and got hurt again, that he just ended his career. That's ridiculous.
Listen, it's just, it's idiotic to compare it to when you injure a player. I mean, like everyone still hates, a lot of people still hate Manny for what he did to Jesus Aguilar, even though that,
and a lot of people still hate Chase Utley.
But like you could hate Conforto, but you're not going to hate him on the same level. It's just not the same level, because what he did might not be dirty, but it's definitely cheap. It's cheap as hell.
No, that's cheap, but it's definitely not dirty. I disagree. It's definitely cheap. It's definitely not dirty, though.
Yeah,
Utley's was both cheap.
Likes a cheap ass player. I mean, that's why I hate Matt Martin. Like,
I mean, like, look, Conforto's not known to do this. I just think, I mean, like, look.
All I know is, like, nobody should be shocked if he gets beamed in his next game. Nobody in the world.
Yeah, no, I'm not, like, whatever. Like,
if he gets beamed,
to be in Conforto's defense, he was facing 95 plus, but like, whatever. There's no excuse. Like, you still have to try to get out of the way.
Dude, that's a joke, though.
People get out of the way of 100-mile-per-hour fastballs faster than Conforto would have gotten out of the way of that. So, whatever. But the
a lot of players face 95 plus. I'm sure a lot of players know how to dodge at that point.
Yeah, like that's what I'm trying to say. Like, Conforto had to make an effort. He didn't, and like, he's definitely in the wrong to some extent, but not nearly as much in the wrong.
I mean, honestly, this is a lot of this is just on the refs. Like, the refs screwed the pooch, man. They really did.
Hopefully, that's just it. There's nothing else to say about it. There's nothing else to say.
They screwed it. Fuck the refs. Okay. I'm surprised it wasn't Angel Hernandez, because he would be all over this.
This guy, I should let you know. I mean, I'll show you after, Joey, after this episode is over, but this guy has a history for doing certain things. Yeah, I'll show you after. But anyway, let's move on to football.
Now I want to go football. Football's going to be very short because hockey's big, so I want to do very little football. So I'm just going to say three very different stories really quick. One of them is a little sad, but I want to mention it a little bit. So there was a massacre last week. This guy named Philip Adams used to play for the Jets. He killed 5 people. A lot of people he's now getting his head examined for CTE. And I don't usually like to talk about this because it's a little dark, but I don't know if you ever saw this movie. It was with Will Smith. It was called Concussion. It was about this doctor that checked, I think it was Junior Seau. It was somebody famous. And
I've seen like one scene in it. That's like
whatever. He found all these players. And he found out. Right, yeah. He found all these players that
died from concussion or something like that.
Right. Basically, he saw that all these players had concussion. Then he did an autopsy and he found out that they have like this disease that, based on all the all the hits to the head, cause them to irrational behavior, like be violent or commit murders and stuff. I don't know if you heard of Mark Pavelich, former New York Ranger, Miracle on Ice, also committed suicide recently. any like abuse that he hit someone before, and people think it was also CTE. So do you think that since this player played a long time ago, they fixed the problem with the helmets, or do you think they need more regulations to prevent CTE with football? Or
I
like,
have no idea, but I guess you can never be too safe with this kind of thing. So, like, they probably have to take another look at it if they have already.
yeah, do you think this is signaling possibly an end to sports or major rule changes, or do you think they're just going to do like little changes over time? Or
No, I don't. I think if any changes, it would be minor repairs at the moment, but definitely not to end sports.
okay, fine. Okay, so I don't
Just
know.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Have you heard of Carl Joseph?
I have. Yeah,
Yeah, so he was a safety for the Browns, and he used to play for the Raiders, and he just signed a 1-year deal to return to the Raiders. Let me just give you some stats. In 2017, lone safety in the NFL to have at least 75 tackles, an interception, a sack, forced fumble, and fumble recovery. In 49 career games, he has 236 tackles, 174 solo, 4 picks, 15 passes defended, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and 3 fumble recoveries. He's coming off a torn ACL. Yeah. So thoughts on that, Josh?
yeah. So looking out for the fact that he is coming off a torn ACL, but I mean, it sounds like he's a tackling machine. So,
Yeah,
which
he's
you don't
big.
normally see from guys in the secondary. You normally see them as ball hawks. But look, hopefully he can, get his career back on track. Obviously, torn ACL is a huge injury to come back from. So we'll see. But based on those numbers, I like the re-signing by the Raiders. Having confidence in him, especially to come back and do it. He seems to be known best for doing after tearing his ACL.
Yeah, okay. Just doing some more little stories here. I don't know if you remember, but on Super Bowl Sunday, there was a big storyline behind the scenes with Andy Reid. His son, like, allegedly was involved in a DUI or something, like some accident. I don't know if you remember this or not.
No, I didn't.
But whatever, he was, and he's just been charged. So do you think this will be a major distraction to Andy Reid? As he works for the team, but also the fact that he's his son. Do you think this will affect him as a coach, or do you think he's just going to be as professional as possible and just move on?
I think knowing Andy Reid, he's a top 3 coach in the NFL right now. I think he will find a way to be as professional as possible and move on.
Okay.
Not saying that I don't know if he has experience with this kind of thing before, but I definitely don't think that it'll be too much of an issue for him.
Okay. Yeah, sure. The Washington football team just released Thaddeus Moss, and I'm like, who's Thaddeus Moss? So he's actually
Yeah,
the son of
so
Randy
I
Moss.
don't know.
He's the son of Randy Moss. So
Ah,
do you think being the son of such a legendary player will help him definitely get a new job, even if he sucks? Because he got released from Washington of all teams. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I feel like it's the hardest to predict with football. So yeah. And I'll give you some examples. Mike Yastrzemski, I know he's not the direct son, but the grandson of Carl Yastrzemski, legendary player.
right.
You've got Brendan Lemieux, who's the son of Claude Lemieux in the NHL, and you've got Austin Rivers, who's the son of an NFL of a NBA coach in Doc Rivers. So
yeah, and Max
just to name a couple of examples.
And Max Domi, son of Ty Domi, famous.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little more, I guess, predictable in football. It's not always the same.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a different position player, because most of these guys play the same positions.
Yeah. So yeah, and I want to know your thoughts about this. So this is really weird how to explain, but basically Netflix is making this movie called Home Team. It's about Sean Payton when he was his reaction, like how his life during Bountygate. Remember Bountygate a while ago, like what he was doing at the time. And it's gonna try to be like a comedy type movie. And Kevin James, I don't know if you know Kevin James, like Adam Sandler, like he movies with him. He's gonna be playing Sean Payton. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this at all, but like a movie about Bountygate.
I didn't know this existed.
It just reported today, so that's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my thoughts away from this right now because it has nothing to do with actual.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
it had moments, but not what's going on today.
Okay, fair enough. And then the last thing, it is football. So Josh, you and we both play a lot of video games. My favorite's NHL, but I feel like you play a lot of Madden as well. And it's actually it's the 85th birthday, or it was yesterday, of John Madden. the person that the game is named after. John Madden, obviously famous sportscaster, but also famous coach for the Raiders, you know. So happy birthday, John Madden. And he actually said a few stories, you know, about his life. And one of them was actually very cool, in which he he told this player, a 5th round pick, his name was Lester Hayes. He was a guy that was a linebacker, but he became a he became a safety. He was an All-American safety in college. And he said, "Oh, you're going to go from safety to cornerback." And the guy was like, "Why are you doing this?" Like, "I want to play safety. I was an All-American at safety." And then, but he's like, "Trust me." And he ended up being all pro as a cornerback in the 80s. And he became the defensive player of the year. So, you know, pretty cool about, you know, having that much faith in John Madden, a legendary head coach and sportscaster, you know, just this is little stuff, you know. Not that much obviously happened in football. So I think next week, since the draft's coming up, we're going to do a mock draft. So your homework, Josh, is to look at the top 20, 25 prospects and make a pick and make your mock draft. You think you can handle that, Josh?
I know I can handle it, Joey.
Okay, I like the confidence. Putting this out
publicly, but I mean, like, okay.
Listen, man, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you know,
but
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we haven't done a good draft. We haven't done a mock draft at all, you know, in a long time, or even at all. So we got to get on that train. Anyway, let's get to hockey, because holy shit, so much stuff happened, Josh. It was the trade deadline. Like, oh my God, so many things happened. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, because I hate this team so much. I'm not even going to pull it up. Islanders trade for Kyle Palmieri, Travis Zajac, and later on traded for a 7th round pick for Braden Coburn. Thoughts on that, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, the Islanders are trying to build up. They really don't have a ton of scoring options, especially with Anders Lee being out. And they've just brought in 2 because it makes you believe. I mean, because
but that's not an improvement, because Anders Lee's out. You're only replacing him. They're not improving.
Well, no, I think Palmieri can match the goal scoring ability of Anders Lee, and Zajac is more of a depth scoring option. He's more of a defensive oriented center at this point, but he's still, you know, a threat. Obviously, he's definitely more of a threat.
It's not an improvement, because he's not. It's not like they have him.
It's not an improvement, but it gives them, look, with Barry Trotz and great coaching, anything can happen. That's just the way it is. No one thought
that's true.
They were going to be a playoff team 2 years ago, and they ended up 2nd overall in the Metropolitan Division. So let's just get that out of the way first of all, okay?
That's true.
Second of all, these seem to be good fits for the Islanders' style of play. I mean, you know, both them. Well, not both. Not as much Zajac as Palmieri, but Palmieri is a threat who can line up anywhere on the power play. And, you know, primarily last night, because he scored a power play goal, and his first as an Islander, his first goal, period, as an Islander, not just on the power play. But, you know, we know that, you know, he's got a good shot. He's got good speed. He's a hardworking player. And he's been a scoring threat wherever he's been, whether it was with the Anaheim Ducks early in his career or with the New Jersey Devils. He's a thorn in anyone's side. He's tough to stop, okay? And the Islanders are that. They're a bunch of speedy forwards who don't have a ton of offensive talent. Palmieri's on, you know, like they're just not, they don't play. Look, you don't have a team full of Alex Ovechkins, Artemi Panarin's, you know, David Pasternak's, Nikita Kucherov's, Nathan McKinnon's, McDavid's, you know, like, you know, all around this team. If you had to pick like one forward, like, you know, you have that, you know, the top 3 of Barzal, Eberle, and when he's there, Anders Lee. And other than that, you've got a bunch of defensemen who play the game the same way, you know, Mayfield, Pollock, Pellick, Dobson, Leddy, you know, and as you
Andy Green.
Andy Green. But
what is it? What is it with Islanders and trading for Devils rejects?
I don't know.
I don't get it, man.
But then you've got, you know, and you've got that top line of Barzal, Lee, and Eberle when Lee obviously is there. And then you've got just a bunch of lines of guys who bring a lot of speed and who just, you know, who just work. Zekas, Martin, I know, like, you know, a bit of a dirty player, but he's a physical force that's hard to stop. Clutterbuck, that line, honestly, like, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but that might be the best 4th line in the NHL because nothing can get by them, you know, and they work. They outwork you. That's just the way it is. They can neutralize any line. I know that, like, I'm telling you, Joey, it doesn't, I'd hate almost nothing more than to say this, but, like, it's just true, and I have to be saying it. That's just the way it is.
Oh, fucking Matt Martin.
And that's what you have to say out of it.
That's all I can say about the guy, man.
Yeah, whatever. The bottom line is the Islanders are making a push, And look, Palmieri has experience because even with the Devils, he's been to the playoffs once. He was with the Ducks when they were a very, very good team and going to the conference finals consistently. And Travis Zajac was on those Devils teams before they hit rock bottom. And, like when they were a conference final team and even a team that was in the finals against the LA Kings and was in the playoffs year after year, back when Marty Brodeur was still the goaltender, that was when he was in his the early stages of his career. And Braden Coburn's been on numerous championship caliber teams,
Okay.
only two different franchises, but many different years. So we know what he brings.
Right, that's true. Before we get to the other ones, I just want to point out a little side thing. Ovi, I love Ovi. Second all-time power play goals history. He just passed Brett Hull, 265. He's like 20-30 away from beating number one, Dale Hawerchuk. So will he beat it, Josh? And also, what do you think of this? Holy crap. Like, just right circle every time, automatic.
Great for Ovechkin, even though, he's killed the Rangers in his career. He seems to be the only one on that Capitals team who consistently can just, beat up on the Rangers.
Until Eagles.
I can't say I don't enjoying him. I don't enjoy watching him play. Whatever. I hope he takes power play goals. I honestly, there's only one thing I like. Honestly, just for the way the Rangers have played this year, there's only one power play I enjoy watching more than the Rangers, and that's the Capitals, just because of how freaking good they are on the power play.
I mean, just give it to Ovi in the right circle, boom, just automatic slap shot.
Exactly.
He's also the 8th player in history to have 16 consecutive 20-goal seasons. I wonder if it's gonna say the list. I don't think so, but that's pretty nuts. Sure. Oh yeah, Gordie Howe, Brendan Shannon, Marcel Dion, Brett Hull, Jaromir Jagr, Matt Sundin, and Phil Esposito. Wow,
and it's crazy to think he'll be tied for the third most,
power play goals. Yeah.
No. That when he moves up on this list, he'll be the third most seasons. Right now, he's 8. But there are 3 guys tied for third place on that list.
Right. So he needs 2 seasons to just erupt, and that's it. That's all he needs. 20 goals is nothing for this guy, though. This guy used to average, I mean, he still technically does, but the season's short, 50 goals a season.
It's crazy.
Back to the trade deadline. I'm gonna do some minor moves because I just want to say it really quickly.
Oh, wait. Can we get the other Band-Aid off first before we do anything?
Yeah, tell me the Band-Aid.
Taylor Hall is now a Boston Bruin. And this is the worst thing that could have happened for the Rangers because they're ahead of Philadelphia right now. And what sucks the most about this is Boston's not good and Hall is not good, but Hall needed a change of scenery to get on a better team.
But that's what I'm saying.
There's just too much offensive talent on that team for him not to be good now. That's the point.
I think it's actually the opposite.
He has Eichel. But here he's got Bergeron, Marchand, Pastrnak, Bruss, Krejci. It's just, whatever.
No, you're wrong. It might not have been the same, but he had Eichel. He had Stahl, who was supposed to be good. He had Olofsson, Reinhart.
Supposed to be. They were supposed to be. These are 5 proven players I've just named.
I would say 4. I don't know who your 5th is. I'd say Pass.
Okay, maybe not DeBrusk then, but Krejci is.
Yeah, Krejci is.
Krejci is up there.
He's an amazing second center.
Okay, and other than that, you're not Bergeron, Marchand, which is arguably the best line in the NHL. So.
Yeah, but he's gonna play with Krejci, who's great, and I don't know. I don't know, man.
This is what I would think. He might play on that top line, and I know it's ridiculous to take Bergeron off, but Bergeron is just that good on his own that he could help boost the play of a guy like.
No, it's not gonna happen. Bergeron's
a pretty soft year.
No, Bergeron's a center. That's ridiculous. You don't take a center off. Okay, that doesn't make sense.
That's not what I said. I said Marchand.
Oh, I heard Bergeron. So. Okay, yeah, take that rat off. I don't mind that. He doesn't deserve it.
I don't think they're going to break up that line, but that's how I would see
it. I didn't want to talk about that.
Don't bring in a guy who sucks this year to lift another guy's play. That's just not how it works.
I hear what you're saying. Okay, so I'm not going to pull all of them up. I'm just going to mention a few of them, but I will pull up some of them. So Dallas Stars claimed Sammy Vatanen off waivers.
Interesting pick.
Yeah, okay. Ottawa claimed defensive Victor Mete from the Canadiens off waivers. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I have. Young player.
Montreal traded for John Merrill from the Red Wings for a 5th-round pick. Merrill obviously was on the Knights before joining Wings in free agency. Dmitry Kulikov. The Devils traded Dmitry Kulikov to the Edmonton for a 4th rounder. So now he's joining a pretty interesting defensive core with Adam Larson, Tyson Barrie,
Yeah,
and Ethan Bear, Darnell Nurse. So not bad for them.
not a bad
Chicago
trade at all.
Blackhawks traded Matthew Heimer for Adam Gaudette, who they got from the Canucks. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I heard a lot about that, but I don't want to get into it.
Okay, fair enough.
That was a stupid trade for numerical reasons and statistics and everything, but whatever. We're not getting into that.
Oh no, I just want to know if you want to stop at any point. But okay,
Oh,
that's
no.
okay. But there are ones you will stop for. I know that for a fact.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just getting through the quick ones first. Just give me a second. Blah 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 blah. Alex Iafallo signed a 4-year extension with the Kings. A young guy that everyone was wondering was going to stay or not. Matthias
Yeah.
Janmark is going to the Golden Knights.
Yeah,
That's a big. I think that was a big one. Like not the biggest, but like I think that's pretty important. I mean, like he's not a bad player. What do you think about that, Josh? Any thoughts or no?
gritty player, a lot of speed, good shot, but doesn't use it very often. And he's a workhorse. Good
he's
fit
gonna
for
be
the
good for
Golden
that
Knights,
bottom half.
especially on that 3rd and 4th line.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like he's gonna be great. Carl Soderberg's going back to the Avalanche, man. Oh, thoughts on that?
Good
Huh?
move for that. Like the Avalanche have
Big
taken the
depth
team.
guy.
Who did they trade?
So it says here he was traded to Blackhawks for forward Josh Dickinson, who's on loan to the ECHL, and the rights to a guy named Ryder Rolston. So yeah,
Okay,
just crap guy.
good deal. Before the season began, like I know what you're gonna say, Joey, about like me loving the Colorado Avalanche. Okay, let's get real here. Okay, Colorado took a deep team into this season before last year's offseason, and they made it deeper when they got rid of Nikita Zadorov and acquired Devon Tays. Not that Zadorov was bad, but Tays is a big improvement, and they brought in Brandon Saad. Then now it's the trade deadline, and Carl Soderberg, who's actually been pretty productive for the Blackhawks, is going back to Colorado, a team he's thrived with for most of his career. Like, and they traded away this guy in the ECHL, as you're saying.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like that's a joke.
It makes them deeper. It just makes them that much deeper. And right now, they are the best team in the NHL, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. For sure. Okay. I got some more here, obviously. Let's see. Just give me a second. I'm so sorry. I don't know if you heard of this guy, Brett Connolly. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
He got traded to the Blackhawks, him, Riley Stillman, for Lucas Carlson and Lucas Wallmark. I don't know if you care about that.
Yeah, it's not crazy.
Patrick Nemeth, I don't know if you heard of him. He's from the Wings. He got traded to the Avs for a 4th rounder.
Going back to the Avalanche. Okay.
Yeah. This one I actually like. He used to be a really good player, in my opinion, but I don't know what happened to him. Riley Nash gets traded to the Leafs for a 2072 7-rounder. There's more. I will get to more. Brendan Montour to the Panthers.
Yeah, that was a
That's
while
a
ago.
good
That's
one.
a huge pickup for the Panthers. They could use a little bit of defensive help. They fall into 3rd in that division, but it's a very close race. It's not because they've been significantly bad that they've dropped 3 spots down from 1st. They're like only, I think, 3 points out of 1st place. Very tight race between them, Carolina, and Tampa. And the 4th spot is a shootout between like Chicago and Nashville and even like Columbus and Dallas now. Bottom line is just not Detroit. And with that being said,
I just got some
Montour is going to be huge for Florida.
All right, there's obviously like 5 big ones, but I'm gonna do a little bit small ones because you've definitely heard of these players, and you're gonna go crazy right now. But oh my God, the Capitals just traded for Anthony Mantha, and they gave up Jacob Verana and Richard Panik, and a 2021 1st rounder and a 22 2 rounder. Holy shit!
Well, that's gotta suck for Verana and Panik, but
Mantha though, that's their top line guy.
Mantha's a guy who's got a lot of promise, and I've always liked the guy. I feel bad that he's had to suck with Detroit, but good for him. Hopefully, he can provide a lot to that team. I think he will.
Yeah, Winnipeg Jets, we always say, or at least I always think, their biggest problem is their defense. They just got Jordy Ben for a 6th rounder. Not a bad bargain. Oh,
not a bad bargain at all. Not like Jordy Ben from his early ages of his career, but still serviceable.
Yeah. Caps get Michael Ruffalo as well for a 5th rounder.
Ooh, okay. So the Flyers are shipping off.
Yeah,
okay.
That's crazy.
They're
right?
probably they're probably throwing in the towel for this year. That's what it sounds like. Actually, I don't know. Like Raffles not huge, but he's a big part of that 4th line. They're very aggressive 4th line, similar to the Islanders, just not as I don't want to say as dirty, but they don't play as they play the same like style, but they don't have like the same level of aggressiveness because they don't take as many penalties. I guess
Yeah. They also The Flyers also traded Eric Gustafsson to the Habs. I don't know if you know who that is.
Ooh, that's good for the Habs. They need another offensive threat at that blue line because Weber just hasn't been the normal blue line threat he is offensively. It's been all Jeff Petrie. That's a good idea. That's a good pick up Montreal.
Predators just traded for Eric Branson. U-Tree's probably like, yeah, now you know how it feels.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I like this one a lot. The Panthers just traded for Sam Bennett. Wow.
And they're taking a deep team. Let's be realistic.
Wow. They got Sam Bennett. That's big, bro. They're
going to be a playoff team, and Bennett cooks in the playoffs. We know that.
Damn. They basically just traded him for a second rounder. That's amazing. That's great. That's a good deal. That's a good win-win right there. Wow. Okay. All right. Now, also just a little thing. Scott Lawton, 5-year extension with the Flyers, $3 million a year. Okay.
Wow.
Whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
Might be
How much per year?
$3 million a year. That might be an overpay, honestly, but I don't know.
I don't think it's an overpay. I really don't. If anything, I think he could be making a little bit more than $3 million. I honestly think he could be. He's that good a player. He's a very underrated player on that team. With that being said, at the same time, there was a lot of talk about the fact that he was definitely going to be the guy to go if Philly traded anyone. And it's just funny now that they extended him for the next 5 years. But okay.
Yeah, Carolina had one of the best decors in the league by far. Just traded Hayden Fleury, so I guess they thought he was expendable. That's crazy.
Well, who did they trade him to?
To the Ducks. Oh wow.
Hayden Fleury's a guy who's got near unlimited potential as a defenseman. I don't know if they were
Yanni Hakanpää in a 6-rounder, so in like 3 years. So yeah, they definitely won this trade because now they're gonna have him with Shattenkirk and Fowler and Drysdale. So yeah, they're gonna be pretty good in next year. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, now let's get to the big ones. So I thought there were 5 big ones. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to say.
Just say any one of them. I don't care. I don't care what order you do it. If you do it by significance that we think of teams, whatever.
Okay, fine. So you obviously already said Taylor Hall, so I'm not gonna say that one. But yeah, that one was obviously big. But no. So Penguins get Jeff Carter for like a third round.
I don't know if I'd really consider this big, but Carter's having a good enough season.
Well, I was gonna say Hall, but you took that already. So this is instead of Hall. Okay.
Oh, I mean, I just wanted to rip off the band because I hate Boston more than I hate Pittsburgh. I know it's shocking, but like whatever. Okay. Yeah, Jeff Carter, that's huge for the Penguins, the way he's been playing this year. And, the Kings, they have a pretty, they're not like the Rangers' bright future just yet. Like, they have a lot of more, like the Rangers signed some free agents, in their rebuild. That kind of made it big, Panarin and now Blackwell. And, they're holding on to Buchnevich still. As for like the draft picks, they're coming, but like they're already in somewhat of a position that they could be competing. As for the Kings, they're not in a position where they should necessarily be competing, but the future when those prospects finally all get up to the NHL level and start playing their game for why they were drafted, they will be a very good team. And getting more picks to add to it is it's a good way. Jeff Carter's also on the back end of his career, so it's not like they need him for another 5 years.
Right, but does this move mean that Pittsburgh's going all in for a playoff push? Like, is he going to change their future? Maybe.
I don't think he's gonna. I think it's like this year and next year type thing. Because Carter's he's in his mid to late 30s.
Right, he's old. So is he going to help or not? Is the question.
I think he's being brought in for the way he's played this season and for championship experience. Because don't forget, he has been on 2 championship caliber LA King teams.
Okay, now let's get to the other 4. Oh my God, this one's crazy. So 2 of them are by the Leafs. I'll tell you the first one. They traded a 3rd rounder for David Rittich. Okay, so what does this mean?
Okay, that's a steal. That is an absolute.
That's like steal. Nothing for like.
The Maple Leafs got fleeced. The Maple Leafs, not Maple Leafs. The Flames got fleeced. The Maple Leafs fleeced the Flames. I know they have Markstrom, but imagine Markstrom and Riddick.
No, but that was why it was such an appealing thing. Because like when you think about the top duos, that was a top 5 one. It used to be Vancouver, but they were replaced by Calgary because for the same reason. Markstrom, like the dude with another good guy, is just an amazing duo. Markstrom and Rittich, like, it was very good, very good. Yeah,
I don't like Toronto. I just like they're kind of like. What are they like to me? Like, no offense, Joey, but like they're kind of like the Yankees. They're always good during the regular season. They think they're championship caliber, and then they just choke in the playoffs. That's how it's been with.
I think it's a little different considering the Yankees have won a playoff series. But okay,
Yeah, no. That's fair to say. But I'm saying it's the same idea. They always like they take up a spot of a team that actually has the potential to like not the potential, but actually has ambitions to go a lot deeper in. Like I'm not talking about the Yankees now. They made a lot of changes, but like in the last 2 or 3 years when they didn't have starting pitching, I'm saying like when all they had was Tanaka and like some I mean, people would argue all they had was Tanaka and Severino when healthy. It's the same thing here. The Maple Leafs are like it just annoys me. They don't need David Riddick. You know what I mean?
I think they do, man,
Like I
because
don't think they need. I mean, like, look, it makes sense right now because they're playing with Jack Campbell, which as a name
right,
doesn't sound good, but Jack Campbell's won 11 straight games also. So
he's
I
gonna have
like
like a
I think
bidding
they
thing.
don't need David Riddick. And then when they get Frederick Anderson back, like, does that mean Riddick is actually like not going to see any time? Does that mean Campbell's not going to see? It's just a confusing move,
No,
and I
Josh, it's a smart move, and I'll tell you one reason
it's
why.
a smart move, but it's
No,
confusing,
but
and
no, it
I don't
makes
like.
a lot of sense. Okay, and I'll tell you why. It's really simple. Now, even if they do, even if they keep all three of them, you have to remember something. Seattle is coming for them. Okay, Seattle's got to pick a player from this team. Okay, and by getting a third goalie like this, they are making it a lot easier to lose one of them because
Okay,
then
that's
they're
true.
losing it.
No. Okay, no, I see what you're saying, but like they might not re-sign him. I mean, I don't know what his contract is like, but if he's a free agent after this year, I don't think the Maple Leafs are going to re-sign him. They don't have the money to do that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like the fact that they brought him in, like I don't even know how they did that. So because all they did was give up a draft pick. So whatever. But I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of the move. Like it's a good
Okay,
move.
well
I don't.
let's just go to your favorite team because they also trade for a goalie. The
Yeah,
Avalanche
I
for
did hear
Devin
about this
Dubnyk.
one.
Devin Dubnyk.
Evan Dubnik.
What do you think about this? Because Devin Dubnyk used to be a very quality starter, and he was in San Jose, so he didn't have the best chance to prove himself because the team sucks.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a backup to Grubauer. And no offense, for those people who say the best duos, I do not think Avalanche are in there at all because I do not believe Francouz on that level. I do, however, believe just because of past success that Dubnyk could be that second guy. I do believe that. Yeah,
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting move, and I know why. Because we know, well, first of all, I think Joey, I have to disagree with you. While Francouz is not the guy, he's definitely a solid backup who can provide you with good play. I'm not saying he's a lock, but I am saying that I think he's a little bit better than you might be giving him credit
I just
for.
don't think he's in the top 5 tandems in the NHL at all. I just don't. I just don't.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to give my opinion because I haven't really thought about that as much recently, or really at all for that matter. Like, I know who the obvious choices are. Obviously, you've got Dallas. Some would go as far to say the Rangers. Some would go as far to say the Islanders right now. So, whatever.
The
The bottom
Islanders backup goalie. I don't even know.
Sorokin,
Oh
he's
yeah,
having an unreal year
that's
so
right.
far.
That's right. Okay, but I also wanted to point out.
With that being said, yeah, I don't want to get into it
Yeah,
anymore. Okay. And last year it would have been like Vancouver with Markstrom and Demko. Okay. Either
right,
way,
and now it's
the bottom
Calgary
line,
and Arizona. But yeah, okay.
right. Arizona is also up there. The bottom line being though that like, okay, like yes, obviously that there are a lot of teams that maybe you could put ahead of them. But Francouz is still a solid backup in my opinion. I don't know if I'd put him top 5, definitely in the upper half. With
Okay,
that being said, at the same time, Grubauer's been on another level. He might actually win the Vezina this year. He's
he's so
playing that
good.
well.
He's so
He's
good.
ridiculously good
I
this year. And
can't
thank
believe they
God,
got him, man. I can't believe they got him from the
like
Cap.
honestly, I was just about to say, thank God the Capitals got him out of that division because otherwise it'd be a lot harder for the Rangers to play against him, even though they own the Caps. But whatever.
Yeah,
With that
like
being said, Francouz has been out this year for the majority of the year, and Johansson, not a good backup to Francouz. He's been very, very, very sketchy. And even though Dubnik is, he's been sketchy the last 2 years also, I definitely think that coming back into this type of environment, a winning environment, don't forget, like he had a great team around him. That decor, when they were obviously 3, 4, 5 years younger, was loaded. You had Suter, you have Brodin, who are, by the way, all these guys are doing, they've turned the clock back, obviously, like 3 or 4 years. But like back when they were in their prime, you had Suter, you had Brodin, you
Dumba,
had
Spurgeon.
Spurgeon
Yeah.
breaking out. He's still fairly young, Spurgeon. So is Matt Dumba. But that's just like how good. And then you also think about the other guys who are around him, like Parise in his prime, and you have
Koivu.
Eric Howla and Mikhail Granlund and Jason Pominville and Thomas Vanek before he
Nico and
completely fell
Koivu.
off the face of the earth. and now and Mikko Koivu also, like, thank you. And now you're coming in to a young team. They're very young, and there's like, it's crazy to think like they're still up and coming, but they're going to be a championship caliber team this year. And you've got the decor of Cale Makar and Bowen Byram. You've still got Eric Johnson, who's serviceable. He's not like, obviously they're sketchy. There's injuries
Yeah, you
involved.
got Gerard, Ryan
Got
Graves,
Gerard, Ryan Graves,
Devon Taves,
Devon Taves, who was brought in. And then you've got arguably the best, not arguably the best player. You've got arguably the best first line in the NHL of McKinnon.
No, I think you do have the best line in it. Okay, suck it.
Yeah, no, look,
they have the best
Pastrnak and Marchand's also a really good line. So I don't know, but if it were like, this is not me hating Boston. I can't argue against talent, like just pure talent, because that's what Bergeron, Pastrnak, and Marchand are. So is Colorado with McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen. And if you ask me, they're a younger version of that Bergeron line. That's just the way it is. That's like, if you look at it, like Landeskog, second overall pick in, what was it, like 2011, 2010, something like that. I don't know. Like within the last.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. McKinnon, first overall, 2013. Rantanen, 10th overall in what, like 2016, right?
So, yeah.
So, and then like you have Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak. Pastrnak is a fairly, like, he's also a fairly
new though. He's like relatively new.
He's relatively new. He was only like 19 years old when they drafted him, or 20 years old when they drafted him. So I'll give him that. He hit the ground running fairly fast in the NHL. But as for Bergeron and Marchand, like they're both already over 30 years old. Marchand's like 32, 33, and he's been playing at least since 2011, along with Bergeron. They've both been in the league for at least 10 years because they were both on that Stanley Cup winning team in 2011. So, it's not like they're super, super young either. But they're still a lot older than that line of Colorado's McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen. Either way, the bottom line is he comes in with those guys on their first line. He comes in with Saad and Kadri and Burakovsky on their second line, Donskoy, Calvert, Jost on their third. And the fact that, like, that's your third line. And you just
got Carl Soderberg for depth.
Yes, and you just added Soderberg, and you've got Valeri Nichushkin, who's been great, and JT Compher, who's also one of the more underrated, bottom half guys in the game.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, and the coaching staff. I mean, Jared Bednar is ridiculous. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do with this team after taking over for Patrick Roy. So. No, I'm serious.
No,
and
I remember
he took them from being the worst in the NHL to a playoff team. That's just the way it is. That's what he did.
Man,
that's what he did. And the front office with Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg, who worked together great on the ice and clearly off the ice as well. So, I mean,
wait, Peter Forsberg was what? He was the what? Off the ice. What was he? He was a coach?
I'm saying no. He's been in the front office with Sakic.
No, but that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought we were going to have like a power of like all our winners, Sakic GM, Forsberg, and then Roy's the coach. And it was so annoying that Roy.
I mean, like, that's how it was before Patrick Roy, completely screwed the team. I mean, like, for a couple of years, they were really good back when McKinnon got drafted. And, like, the next year, they were a very good team that year. They went from worst to first that year.
I mean, it just goes to show you that you could be one of the greatest players of your generation
and be a terrible coach.
And no one did it better than Wayne Gretzky, man. He was also a coach. People forget that. He probably was a worse coach than Roy, I think, actually. He was Coyotes a long time ago. Not good at all.
Whatever. Like, I don't want to talk too much on it.
But point is, sorry.
Like, he's changed this team, Bednar. That's just the way it is. From players' perspective and, like, their play on the ice, he has changed this team. And they're an excellent team right now. Bringing in Devin Dubnyk, a guy who has a lot of playoff experience, and that's something the Avalanche have struggled with. They haven't made it past the second round in the last 3 years. Well, they've made it to the playoffs in 3 straight years and have significantly shown significant progress and gotten better by large margins. One of the main things that's been their problem is A, experience, and B, injuries. Injuries probably a little more than experience, honestly, because when you go to the playoffs in 3 straight years, like, how much more experience do you really need? And they've gone farther progressively each year with better teams. You know what I mean? So this should be the year that they get over the hump and make it at least to the third round. If I had to predict, I'd probably predict the Western Finals right now is honestly Vegas, Colorado. Like, no question. That's just the way it is.
I think that's definitely going to happen. That should have happened last year, but Vancouver just shocked everyone.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I don't want to say it's kind of sad, unless, like, honestly, they might have to play each other in the second round.
Although, like,
unless
I think,
that
like,
happens,
I think
but
that's
they're
the
in the
thing. It
same
all
division.
depends on seeding and stuff, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
you're
if
in different
it's like if
divisions,
it would be that Vegas could play Colorado in the third round, then that's what I would predict. Like
right?
if
But
it's
also
possible
division,
that way.
right? But divisions are also different now. Now it's going to be like the division,
Yeah, I know, which is why I'm saying if it
right?
could, but whatever.
Okay, so it
I
would
know
be
I got
like
really
St.
into this.
Louis
The
or
bottom
something.
line is Dubnik brings a ton of experience to this team. And while he's not been Devin Dubnik for the last 2-3 years, we know that he still has the ability to get back in a winning environment on a winning team with championship aspirations and great coaching, great players around him, great mentors. Like, he can be a great mentor, I believe, to come into this organization and just be a very, very good backup right now to Philip Grubauer. Because I think he's definitely going to get an opportunity first chance he gets over Eunice Johansson. That's just like, no offense.
Okay, yeah, but I actually I'm hoping he can bounce back. He could be the backup, honestly, but whatever, we'll see.
Yeah. And
Okay,
what do we have? One or two more?
two more, two big ones.
Oh, I thought we had. Oh, wow. Okay, my bad. I
And you
went.
talked a lot. I didn't want to interrupt you, but we have two more. Two more.
Oh, wow. You should have cut me off, Joey.
Sorry about that. Two more big ones, but maybe you won't have that much to say about this one. I think it's a big one, but maybe you won't. Okay. The Lightning, we know their offense is stacked and they had a solid defense, but they lost guys like Shattenkirk and Bogosian. I think they might have corrected that. They just traded
Oh, I
for
think I know what
David
you're going to say. Yeah,
Savard.
David
10
Savard.
years, 10 years with the Jackets, finally gets shipped off. And they also got Brian Lashoff for a first rounder. So Jackets made some big moves in this deadline. I'll get to the other one in a second. But yeah, first rounder, David Savard. Tell me about it.
All I could say is thank God Boston didn't get him.
I'd be
and
so mad. I'd be so mad. He's so good.
and
Oh
thank
my
God Philly didn't get him. Because
God.
those were
Thank
like
God
the
he's
top.
just not in our division, man. Just thank God. Like, just yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, like if the Sabres would have gotten him, I wouldn't have cared. But why on hell's earth? Like, why would you want to go to the Sabres? That's oh my gosh. What I said didn't even make sense before. But okay, whatever. That's like that's the bottom line. Like I like him with the Lightning, and again, like they're even though I'm talking Colorado Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights, like the Lightning right now are the top three in the NHL. Like I know they're not. They're statistically they're the 2 seed right now. Or are
Uh,
they even 4 seed for all? Like, no, they're not the 4. They are the 2. They're the 2 seed in their division right now. And even though they're the 2 seed, as I mentioned, like between the top 3 teams, it's like from first to third, it's like a 3-point difference, which isn't crazy. I mean, like that's really competitive. So, excuse me. Like the Tampa Bay Lightning are still a championship caliber team. They're still a Stanley Cup ambition team, and with that being said, I mean, like I honestly thought there was a way they'd find a way to get deep into the playoffs again. Bringing in a guy like David Savard helps to replace the guy that they lost in Kevin Shattenkirk and even Zach Bogosian, who's not exactly a threat, but a very good depth option defensively. So, it's just the way it goes.
now it's gonna be Hedman, Sergachev, McDonough, Shen,
Ruda.
Ruda, and Savard. Yeah, that's not bad.
That's a loaded blue line, to say the very least.
That's not bad at all. And the last one, and I think this is actually the biggest one. You could say Taylor Hall, but I think this guy I like him a lot more because he wasn't in Buffalo. So yeah, the Leafs, Jackets also made another crazy big move, like to sell, and they sold to the Leafs their captain Nick Foligno to the Leafs for a first rounder and a fourth rounder, and also Sharks got involved. But holy shit, Josh, is this it? Is this like? I know you said they need Rittich, but I think they sure as hell could use someone like Foligno, especially for their depth. Oh my God, holy shit.
All I could say is I hope, like, this is just me being a hockey fan and just being annoyed about the Maple Leafs moves, like thinking they're good. As I mentioned before, they just take up a spot and don't actually compete. They thought they were going to get there after they acquired John Tavares. No, it didn't happen. They thought they were going to get there. Sorry, this was before. Like, Tavares came after. They thought they were going to get there when they acquired Patrick Marleau with his play and his veteran experience. Nah, they didn't get there. They thought they were going to get there when they signed John Tavares, that fat 7-year deal. Nah, they didn't get there. Still, for 2 years, they didn't get there. Now they think they're going to get there with Nick Foligno. I know that team is very well changed and they're dominating that North Division right now. But with that being said, the North Division is just not that great a division. Yes, the Jets are a good team. Yes, the Canadians are a good team. And I don't even know who's hanging on to that 4th spot in the division right now.
Probably the Oilers, if I had to guess.
Probably the Oilers. The Oilers, like, yeah, they're an up-and-coming team, but they're really, like, yeah, they're a good team. but none of them are really as good as Toronto, like even at their best, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Because Toronto's just we've talked about the cap situations this entire time of Matthews, Marner, and Tavares all getting paid 10 million plus a year, and that doesn't include the guys who are still making a decent amount of $6 or $7 million a year, like Zach Hyman and William Nylander, and last year it was Tyson Barrie, but now you've got guys on that blue line like TJ Brody, who's making a lot of money still, and Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall,
Yeah.
those guys. I'm just saying, the bottom line being that, and Frederick Anderson also, like, the goaltenders are getting paid. So it's like,
yeah, I told you that stat a million times about their
like,
first line is equal to like 3 lines of Boston or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just to say the least from my standpoint, I hope this team completely falls on its ass in the first round of the playoffs so that they're slammed up against it, not even against, like they'll be way over the cap and realize how they have to change this
You
organization.
think they're gonna
Clearly bringing in offensive talent after offensive talent does not help. It's kind of like I made a similar comparison to the Yankees with them before, but this is just on another level. It's kind of like the Yankees didn't need Giancarlo Stanton to make that offense much better. You know what I mean? Like, I know he makes them that much better, but he doesn't make or break that team offensively. You know what I mean? It's the same thing here with Nick Foligno. They've already got Marner and Matthews and Tavares and Nylander and Hyman. The last thing they need is more offense. They need to fix up that defense right now. Like, that's whatever.
All right,
I don't care. I hope they fail, and it's great for business because
all right.
Yeah.
So first of all, your comparison's way off on both counts. Giancarlo Stanton could be obviously a different maker, and you saw that in the playoffs because he scored like 5 straight games with a home run. So that obviously made a difference. And second of all,
at the time,
whatever. And second of all, the reason why I'm actually optimistic about Nick Foligno is where he's coming from, man. This dude came from one of the best systems in the NHL in terms of just style of play. If you buy into John Tortorella's two-way system, you will be successful. That's a fact. We know it works.
That's true.
That's why they beat the Lightning, man. Because Panarin was willing to. Even Duchesne, who doesn't do it a lot, was willing to listen. So, and Foligno's been there the longest. He was their captain. So he knows how to do that. And I think one of the biggest problems about Toronto is that they don't have enough two-way players. Getting a two-way player like this is a big deal to me. Because
that might be true, Joey, but I really don't think, no offense, I don't think he's going to make or break this team. I really don't think he is.
I don't know, man. I think their biggest problem I thought their biggest problem for sure was their depth by far. I mean, I think their defense improved a ton, and we all know how good that top 6 is. I really just don't think they had any.
Depth-wise, it's an excellent move.
Because they have Spezza and Simmons and Jimmy Feasy and Joe Thornton.
I understand that, Joey, but the names they thought they brought him before, I just don't think it's going to make or break.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't think it's fair to put him as a depth player when he's strictly used to being a leader and a top 6 guy, unless they intend to put him.
But isn't that significant when you get a leader to be on your depth? Doesn't that make a difference?
It is, but I'm saying I think he's a captain. He knows what it takes to lead and how to set an example. So he probably will be willing to take that role for the good of the team, because a captain.
Of course he will. We've had 4 captains on this team, man. We've had that's Thornton.
That's the thing. But the 4 captains they have on this team are all in the top 6. I don't think Foligno is going to be willing to swallow that when he sees the other 4 guys in Thornton, the guys who could be in Matthews and Tavares and Mitch Marner, all could be captains on any single team if they were there. I mean, Tavares is the captain. Matthews would be a captain on almost any NHL team. And Marner would be a captain on almost any NHL team. And Thornton has been a captain on NHL teams before. So it's the same thing here with Nick Foligno. That's what I think. And I don't think he's going to be willing to step down because he's a winger. And the 2 guys that they're going to have playing behind him now are William Nylander, and he's going to be on the left side. And on the right side, it's oh my gosh, what's his name? It's not Marner. It's Marner's. Foligno's a right winger. Oh my gosh. It's really pissing me off. But whatever. It's probably someone who's getting grossly overpaid for nothing. That's the bottom line. So whatever. I hope Foligno can find success, but I don't really care anymore at this point.
Yep, I hear you. Okay. So that's really it. But before, just a question: if they do crash and burn this in the playoffs, do you think that's it? Do you think they're going to trade some guys, or?
No, I mean, like, I think they'd be stupid not to because they could probably get a ton in return for one of these guys.
I think they trade like Marner or Nylander. That's who I think they trade.
If you're going to trade, you trade Nylander. You don't trade Marner. Marner is.
Come on, man. You can't trade Matthews, and you signed Tavares. No one's going to take that
I'm
money.
saying, you got to get rid of Nylander. I think Nylander's contract is up soon anyway, and if not, then he's the one who's getting the most overpaid on that team because Marner is a player worth $10 million. The only thing is that, like you have your two centers and you have your two wingers. I think Marner's a more valuable keep than William Nylander.
I wasn't,
especially if you have.
I wasn't I wasn't on board till you said the centers thing. That's a good point. Centers are invaluable.
Tavares and Matthews are both centers. Marner and Nylander are both wingers, and Marner is able to play the center position.
I'm saying because Marner plays center, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah. No, Marner's a winger,
but he can play center.
He has, but he prefers not to. Like, they wouldn't want him to play center with the two guys they have if they could have him work with one of those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but still, like, he could play center if he wanted to.
He could, but like, it just wouldn't make sense for the Maple Leafs to do that when he could play alongside either Tavares or Matthews instead of.
But you're also not trading Tavares and Matthews because Tavares' contract is atrocious and Matthews is
right. I know. And Nylander's contract is the worst out of all of them. So whatever. That's my opinion. He's definitely not worth the money he's getting. I mean, I don't know if he's definitely not worth, but I think Marner is more worth the money he's getting paid than Nylander is worth the money he's getting paid, if that makes sense. I'm not saying Nylander can't be deserving of like, $5, $6, $7 million a year, but I think Marner is a little more proven at this point. And they've both been in the league for the same amount of time. Marner's gotten significantly better over the years than Nylander has.
Okay. And technically the trades are over, but one little signing I want to point out is the Rangers. I don't really care about college sports. And in hockey we do talk about World Juniors, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is just because of the relevance. It was the hockey version of college championship or whatever, Frozen Four, and UMass won, and I noticed that. But what was interesting is that there's a player on there that we drafted, and we just signed him to an entry-level deal. His name is Zach Jones, one of our best prospects. He was our third-round pick 2 years ago, and he was apparently a big contributor in UMass winning the title. So any thoughts on this, Josh? Any thoughts, like, you think he's going to come up soon or it's going to be a little longer because of our defense? What are your thoughts on that, Josh?
I hope he comes up soon. I think, like, obviously the Rangers getting younger and younger by the days. Obviously the guys like Zibanejad, Kreider, and Buchnevich are probably not going to go. Because even Buchnevich, I know, like, he's fairly early into his career, but, like, he's still not the youngest guy on that team. And Panarin, obviously. Panarin and Strome, obviously, also, like, both of them. But, like, they were signings that are, like, helping. Like, those five guys are, like, the main mentors on offense. Then you've got the guys like Kakko, Lafreniere, Hedl, and even Gauthier to some extent, and Kravtsov, who they just brought up, and those guys who they're thinking of bringing in. And, like, they're really, like, the main guys who make this team as young as it is. And then on defense, obviously, we've got Miller, Lindgren, Fox, and Hayek. Because Brendan Smith is, he's not that young. He's not that old either, but, he's not in his very early 20s, and neither is Jacob Trouba. Jacob Trouba is also up to, I think, like 26 right now, 27. So, yeah, with that being said, maybe he comes in, and if so, then expect things, because he knows what it takes to win. Clearly, he just won for college hockey. Obviously, adjusting to the NHL is not going to be easy, but he's not going to be the only one doing it. The majority of the offense is really going to be doing it, because Kakko is still, he's on the second line occasionally. And yeah, as I mentioned, Hedl, Lafreniere, Gauthier when he's in the lineup, and I guess Brett Howden, but he's probably not going to be a Ranger that much longer. So
yes, Seattle, please take him. Oh my God, please.
Anyway.
Okay, but yeah, if he comes up, who are you taking out? Because I don't know. Tough.
I don't know.
Tough decision.
And Blacklaw. I totally forgot about Blacklaw. That's really embarrassing.
Not exactly, but okay.
He's been a very, very bright.
I don't know if you saw it in his last 7 games. He has 7 or was it 8 points or something like that? Like 7.
He had 6 goals in his last 7 games coming into last night's game. He now has 6 goals.
7 points in his last 7 games. Yeah, yeah. That's nuts, man. That's nuts. And he's technically a fourth liner. Like it's crazy.
Also, just want right before we hop off, I do want to point out the play of Kravtsov last night. He scored his first NHL point, and he is getting noticeably better and fast. So hopefully he can provide a spark for the Rangers, because he seems to be growing really fast.
Yeah, and also before we go, I just want to point out, like, it doesn't look the best, but we were actually 5-3-2 in our last 10 games. So that's actually not so bad.
Yeah, that's not
because we're still going into OT. Yeah, we're still going into OT.
The last 10, I meant.
No, because
also the teams we have coming up, because think about it, we don't have to play the Penguins anymore. Right?
Yeah, we're playing the Devils 4 games in a row. Holy shit.
Like this could be an opportunity right now to get 7 games over 500. And then we get the Islanders. The Rangers play well against the Islanders. Like the Islanders
just play Georgiev. Just play him. Play him.
We have David Quinn. I was shocked he didn't play him last night. Shesterkin started like 5 games in a row, and the fact that he didn't play Georgiev last night, even though he played on Friday.
Listen, it was close. It was really close.
Stop changing the goddamn lines. Stop starting the wrong players. Stop going against analytics. Don't be the Mickey Callaway of hockey. I know that, just please play the right matchups. Because Shesterkin against the Islanders, as much as I believe Shesterkin is not the answer to beat the Islanders. He just hasn't beaten them yet. He really took a step forward last night. He was excellent against them, but he's just not the answer.
All I know is that he gave up points to like their starters, and Sorokin gave up points to our third pairing defenseman. So who's more of a joke?
Sad, and it's kind of like true at the same time. I mean, not kind of. It's true, but it's like kind of sad. It's sad and impressive at the same time.
Like I know you won, but you lost because like our third pairing defenseman scored.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, I mean, like if not for those guys, the Rangers wouldn't have had a point last night. So.
Yeah, it's true.
I also want to point out
let's just take a moment, and let's go to this game because I enjoyed the hell out of I watched the highlights of this game. Very happy, man. Laugh got a point against the Islanders. That made me feel good. Obviously, Blackburn got a goal.
Again.
Yeah, Miller hit a rocket from the point, and Zibanejad just do it like he lifted it in the air. Yeah, he just scores, man. And the only bad part about this is that Fox's streak was over, but he had like 12 straight games with a point, which was a top 5 for the Rangers. So that's really good. I think
the best part of it all, I mean, like the best part of it has come to an end to some extent. I'll mention that real quick, but the Rangers literally hadn't lost a game in Nassau Coliseum since like 2014. Because like in 2015, they played the Islanders 5 times, and I think 3 were at the Garden and 2 were at Nassau Coliseum. And the Rangers went 2-3 that year against them, but both wins were at Nassau Coliseum. So unless
and they moved to Barclays the next few years, right?
Yeah, that's so like the Rangers. It's not the Rangers haven't lost on the road against the Islanders over the last few years because they have, but not at Nassau Coliseum until last night. But the good news is the point streak is still alive at Nassau Coliseum because it was not a regulation loss. So
that's true. We still
have a point streak.
We still get points on them. They
still have a point streak going.
They have not completely.
The win column is over.
Like outside of opening night, like they have not had a real blowout against us. We've blown them out a lot. Like last year, 2 years ago, this year we blew. Like this is a game.
I mean, like the Rangers lost 4-0 and like 5-1 against the Penguins over that span of time. Like they've been blown out a couple times.
No, I'm saying
I would consider those.
No. I'm saying the Islanders did not blow us out. That's what I was saying.
That's true.
I'm saying we've blown them out. We either blow them out or we lose by like 1. Like it's very close where we blow them out, except for opening day. That was an exception. So, but yeah, like it's usually we blow them out because Georgiev is supposed to be the starter. When Georgiev plays, we blow him out. When Shesterkin plays, we lose. Like it's just not. I love Igor.
Yeah, whatever.
I love Igor. He could beat a lot of teams in this league. He could beat Capitals for sure. He could beat the Flyers. I think. I don't know about Boston. I'm a little unsure about that. I think we beat.
I don't know if he's ever played against Boston, to be honest. I know he has actually.
I'm trying to remember who was in goal when we beat them without Panarin, because like
that was like who I don't think he could beat Boston.
That was Georgiev, I believe.
I think Georgiev is who you should play every game against Boston and Islanders. That's what I think should happen. Every other team, you could put Igor in, but I just think
Kincaid was in goal for the second game against Boston in Boston.
Right.
He was the one who got the 4-0 win.
That's what I'm saying. Don't play Igor against Islanders or Boston. Like, we can't afford to lose any more games. Just play him against everyone else. You're playing against the Devils. If you really want to play in 4 straight, you could do that, but obviously get Georgie in for some reason. Because if you're looking at this is
don't tire him out. That's the bottom line. I mean, like, we just take 5 seconds to look over the rest of the schedule, because these Devils wins, like, yeah, I'm not being biased. This should be 4 wins right here. This should be 4 wins,
especially after they traded Palmieri and Zajac.
Especially after they traded Palmieri and Zajac. Yes, this should be 4 wins right here. I know Blackwood has been good, but like, the Rangers should not be losing any of these games.
Like, who are we supposed to fear on this team? Like, Jack Hughes, and is Heischer still out? Like, that's who I fear.
I don't even know about that. Maybe Subban. Like, other than Mackenzie Blackwood, I can't really.
No, it's Blackwood. He's really good, but like, if he has no support, he's gonna.
They don't have Kulikov anymore either. So
that's all. And Vatanen was claimed off. Like, he's not there.
Vatanen was taken off. Exactly. Like, there's really no one. I mean, like, Jack Hughes had an excellent start to the season, but he's really, really gone cold since. So I don't really see anyone to fear on the Devils. The Flyers, like, yeah, they're a tough team to beat. I'm not gonna lie, but there's a pattern. It's been back and forth, and if the pattern holds true, the Rangers, it's their turn to win, because
listen, it's just like, we still got a point. So now, like, we're in the race because Flyers and Boston lost last night.
And then you get the Flyers. Like, the Flyers have made moves that have made them a little bit worse, I think. Obviously.
Raffle and
like, that's really it. But like, he's still a very like.
Yeah.
He's a part of that team that a lot of teams could really use. With that being said, they're also both the Flyers games. I don't know if you could scroll down a little bit more, Joey, real quick, but both those Flyers games are at MSG, and the Rangers, we know, against the teams in their division. I mean, obviously they're only, except for Boston really, and the Islanders so far, they've played very well against teams
at home. Yeah.
At home. Like, they were 2-1-1 against the Penguins. They're 2-0 against the Caps. They are 1-0-1 against the Philadelphia Flyers. Against and the Devils, but like, they could probably turn that around right here against the Sabres. They're undefeated against the Sabres on home ice. The only real team to fear at this point on home ice is the Islanders, because they're not playing Boston at home anymore, and the Rangers own the Capitals on home ice. But we'll see. Again, I think they'll win this Flyers game.
Yeah, like, we gotta. Yeah.
I honestly believe if they sweep the Devils, I'll make a case to say that they will make it to the playoffs. Like, just right there, I don't care what happens. Like, that's what I would say.
It's gonna be a little hard though, for 2 reasons. Number one is they're playing a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, so that's gonna be
right. That's
true.
I heard
them. And for the second reason, which is technically part of number one, is like, what's the goalie situation going to be? Like, obviously Igor, I have faith in both.
I think back to back they'll split, but I think we might see the same too. I think we might see like Igor, and then like
Georgiev
Igor is what I think we might see.
That might happen. Or we could do Igor Georgiev, or the opposite. Like,
well, I mean, it would make sense because it would make sense for Georgiev not to play the last Rangers Devils game, because the
Islanders, right.
And I mean, like, but 2 days of rest also. So whatever. Scroll down a little bit more just to get the rest of the schedule. Yeah, like, I think they'll win the Flyers games. We know that they're going to beat the Sabres. I mean, like,
they should beat the Sabres, especially after losing Taylor Hall, who wasn't great anyway.
Yeah.
But still,
at the Garden, we know they'll beat the Sabres. Like, I mean, like, look, nothing's guaranteed, but if I had to bet money, I'd say they probably sweep those 2 games against.
And they're playing the Flyers at home, so that's big. Like,
yeah, the Islanders, like, I don't know if it's at MSG 100%, but definitely if it's at, like, it's crazy to think I believe in them a little more on the road against the Islanders than I do at Madison Square Garden.
Okay. So this one's Nassau, this MSG, and this is Nassau, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. And then the Capitals, we know the history between the Rangers and Capitals.
MSG, and then the last
2 are in Boston. Like that, honestly,
it might go down to the wire. It might go to those.
Really might go down to the wire. I don't know, Joey. If you could just pull up the Bruins real quick, I want to see what their schedule's like, because they have a little more games. They have a few more games left.
They're playing the Islanders. So what we need is we have to root for the Islanders.
But here's the problem. They get 4 against Buffalo over the next 7 games. That's a problem. That's a problem for the.
All right, so I got to root for the Buffalo to start winning games, which is going to be
pretty much. Well, look, they beat the. I mean, what the hell? They have how many? Scroll up a little bit.
Oh wow, they're playing the
One,
Bucks a lot. 1, 2, 3,
2,
4,
3, 4,
5,
5,
6.
6.
What the
6
fuck?
games, and then they get 2 against the Devils. Honestly, like they might make it in. They might make it in, but
That's
whatever.
not fair though. That's not fair. They what, do they not play him the whole year? That's crazy.
I don't think so. But
That's
whatever.
nuts. Whoa.
Look, Buffalo's pulled off some really ridiculous wins in the past, so maybe they can again.
I know we're playing the Devils 4 times in a row, but
Yeah.
they played the Sabres like
6 out of their last like 17 games. I just want to make a point though. While like the Devils are there, the Bruins have actually struggled against the Devils quite a bit this year. I
Yeah,
think they're like 1-4 against them in 5 meetings.
here's a
so, like,
loss.
2-4.
That's a loss.
Go
That's
all the way
a
up.
loss.
Let's run it back. Run it
That's
back.
a loss. That's 3 losses. 4 losses.
4 losses. And that was in a shootout also.
No, they won the shootout. They lost
I'm
them.
saying, like that was in a shootout, so it wasn't
Yeah,
the
so
easy.
they've given up a lot of points to the Devils. Damn.
Yeah.
And they won, but also showed another point given. Wow, they have not beaten them in regulation, it looks like. That's
They're 2-4. They're 2-4 against the Devils. Are both of these games?
damn.
Where are these games? That's what I'm curious to know. Where are those 2 games?
So it's top. So that means it's away.
Oh, okay, fine. So, honestly, like maybe they won't be the look, the Rangers aren't going to make it easy, especially if they're fighting for the playoff spot. The thing the Rangers have to worry about is if they get ahead of Boston within those last 2 games. Boston had 2 games postponed, so they're going to make them both up. The good news is they're against 2 of the better teams in that division, against the Islanders and against the Capitals. The bad news is that you get a home game there. They get 3 straight home games. Well, I do think the Rangers can potentially go into Boston and take 2 if they're really that desperate. I don't know.
Yeah, but like you basically just that's the thing though. If we beat them twice, it's still out of our hands because they're gonna have makeup games to play.
Well, I mean, the only way it's not going to be out of our hands is if the Rangers are like 10 points up ahead of Boston by the time they get, or if the Rangers
Honestly, if the Islanders pull an Eagles, I'll fucking kill them, man. I'll kill them.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't think Barry Trotz is that much of a D-bag. Let's just put it that way. As like much of a Rangers rival as he is, because he wasn't, he was still in.
He's gonna put Matt Martin in goal, man. I know him. He's gonna do it.
Oh my gosh. Matt Martin, like he wouldn't even play goal. He'd go out there as like a 6 forward and try to like smoke.
Yeah, they pull the goalie and they just leave
him and Marchand. That'd be a good matchup. Both him and Brad Marchand. That'd be a very good matchup to see. Like
yeah, just extra attackers, just like covering.
Who knows? Maybe Bruce Cassidy will be stupid enough to put Marchand in that for the Bruins. So
yeah, he is that dumb. So yeah, definitely a fact. So yeah. Well, anyway. That's all there is to say. I'm tired of talking. I'm ready to just
we had our little rant at the end, and
yeah. Oh man.
That's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you all for tuning into the JJ Sports Podcast today. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and we appreciate your feedback. For the final time signing off today, I'm Josh.
And I'm Joey.
And have a great day.